All right, this is the Heat in the Kitchen podcast, episode 2. Pretty excited today. We've got Chef Dave Becker here. I'm Chef Avi Shemtov, by the way. We've got Chef Dave Becker here, who owns Sweet Basil in Needham, Massachusetts, Juniper in Wellesley, Massachusetts, and Balani in Waltham, Massachusetts. Thanks for coming, Dave. Thanks. And we've got NFL Hall of Fame linebacker Andre Tippett. Thanks for coming by, Andre.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you. Today, we've got a sponsor, very cool sponsor.
Oh, you're not going to name your producer here?
Am I supposed to? I wasn't sure. I thought you were Mr.
Well, you said
I thought you were Mr. No Real.
I had no tagline last week. Then you go Restaurateur, Hall of Famer, and then be like, Corey, he still has no tagline even from last week.
All right, so we have producer extraordinaire Corey O'Leary. Did I say
go.
your name last week, actually?
I don't know, but
we did the whole no
fun.
gimmicks thing. Anyway, Corey's here, as always. And then we have Vinovations in Sharon, Massachusetts is sponsoring us today. They've got some great wine selections. They've got one of the cool systems where, like, you go in there and there's bottles of wine all over the wall, and it's, like, all samples. Because you can buy the wine to leave. They're technically like a liquor store. But you can go in there and have, like, a whole party. You can spend the whole day having, like, 1-ounce samples of wine all across the room. It's fun. It's cool. Vinovations in Sharon. Appreciate you guys.
You guys red wine or white wine, guys? I'm
Red.
white. I'm white, personally.
Red. I love a nice full body.
Full body.
All right. Andy likes red wine. I'm a red wine drinker when it's in front of me. I'm a white wine drinker when that's in front of me. Yeah. That's just how I roll.
Yeah, well, this might turn me on to red because this is pretty good.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I could get into this.
Yeah. Heat in the Kitchen, week 2. Becker and Tippett coming through. They got a problem in Houston, plus the lead Billy O just blew. Edelman's jumping cars and Trump showing restraint. Plus Lamar falls and D. Henry goes hard in the paint. It's Heat in the Kitchen. Sweet. So, I don't know what we're going to talk about first. I thought of a cool question, actually, that I thought, I was, thinking about the two of you guys and sort of, not that there's a huge age difference with me, but there's just kind of an interesting thing I thought about so my dad was a chef. My dad owned restaurants my whole life, and then I opened restaurants, and my dad never kind of understood what I was up against because when he was doing his thing, social media wasn't what it is now. Right. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, when you opened Sweet Basil, social media wasn't, huge yet, and obviously in your playing days, and I was thinking, how do you guys think, I imagine massively, how do you think that would have changed your entire careers, essentially?
Well, I don't know about you, Dave. I'm glad they didn't have social media back in my day. It was, I talked to a lot of my old teammates a lot, and, I do a lot of social media, personally and professionally. And it's amazing the stuff that I see on the players and I watch the players do and the do's and the don'ts. And I'm glad it wasn't around when I was playing. Not that I did a whole lot, but still.
No, but the weird thing is, like you said, not that you did a whole lot. The weird thing about social media, especially when it comes to anybody that's in the public spotlight, and in particular with athletes, is that if it's a slow news day, you're getting crushed for doing stuff that all of us have done.
Right.
That honestly, that a lot of us still do.
Absolutely.
And some of it's behavior that you're like, yeah, you're not proud of it if it's you, but it's not that big a deal. Some of it's behavior that's honestly not even a big deal. Right. You walk into a business, a donut shop, and you choose not to eat this donut or that donut, and they're making you look like you were rude.
The good thing is though is that people forget about it now. So if something embarrassing comes out about you, no one remembers because there's something new all the time. So
100%. That actually brings me to another thing that happened today. So today the Houston Astros got their MLB suspension came down. They suspended their GM and their head coach for a whole season. And my first thought was about Billy O'Brien.
Right.
I was like, today was going to be a hard news day for Billy O'Brien.
Right.
And right away I was like, nope. In Houston, they're not talking about that blown lead today.
Took the slack off.
Yeah, he's like, you're like Billy O'Brien got up this morning. He was like, oh. And then he saw that and he was like, okay, I'll be all right.
Yeah, but NFL's still king. You lose a 24-0 lead, then I think that's still tomorrow might be the front page, but everybody still cares more about the Texans in that game, I believe.
Yeah. But the news cycle is what. Did you see Deshaun Watson's? I love Deshaun Watson, by the way. Did you see his press conference by any chance? The stuff he said.
No.
I just don't think enough athletes do this. They were like, do you know Billy O'Brien and the whole thing? So Billy O'Brien used to coach here. He was the offensive coordinator, right?
Right.
And he's been down in Houston with the Texans for a while. And he's had success. He's been successful. And for some reason, he gets crushed. And they blew a real bad lead.
Oh, yeah. No, there were memes. Everybody was
bad.
There was just.
Which, if you think about it, they're getting crushed for their early success, not their fit. Because everyone kind of assumed they were going to get rolled.
Right.
And then they just jumped out to this early lead.
Yeah, somebody said on Twitter, they said he's going to be the first coach to get fired after almost getting a raise in the first quarter, and then he gets fired in the second quarter.
Definitely, but the thing that I saw Deshaun Watson do was, like, he came out, and again, I just think, like, and this is the whole social media culture. You don't want to get crushed. You don't want to. Not enough guys will stand by their coach, and I don't know their relationship, but he came out and said he wasn't iffy. He didn't say that's not my business. He just said I love that. I love him. And he goes,
one of the players said that?
Like the player, their star quarterback.
Oh, that's cool.
And
then.
he said, I play 110% for that guy, and I'll play 110% every single day that he's the head coach here.
That's cool.
And I was like, and he actually said, he goes, I know, another thing a lot of people don't acknowledge is that they hear the noise. He said, I know that a lot of people have criticisms, but we don't in our locker room, and we're with this guy. And I just think sometimes you watch like a coach get ripped and then get fired, and then afterwards it comes out the players supported him. And you're like, well, why didn't they just say that? Like, why didn't they say in the press conference? Because that changed my opinion. When I saw it, I was like, listen, that's his boss, and he's saying that he loves working for him.
So was it like the coaching got the blame for the...
I don't know about that, did it?
Yeah, well, I think...
I only saw the second half.
Let's put it this way. Andre is a defensive player. You were a defensive player. You know, I don't... They were up 24-0, and then I think the Chiefs scored, like 7 straight possessions. They scored touchdowns or something. Right. So, I mean... How do you stop Patrick Mahomes? That's the real issue, I guess.
It's tough, man.
So I don't know if you have thoughts on that. How do you stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense?
Hit him often.
Yeah. Well, they couldn't get to him, and then a couple times he got out of the pocket and scrambled, and it looks impossible to stop when they're rolling like that.
Right. I don't want to like bore the world with X's and O's too much, but that's what I love. I love X's and O's football. How hard is it as a defensive player where you got a 24-0 lead early? They obviously start scheming to sort of like run clock and pull back, but it's like you only know one speed, right? Like you said, hit them often. Right. And now all of a sudden, like what? I don't know. I watch games like that, and just as a fan, I think like, it's been working for a quarter. Right. Just keep going. Especially when it's this late in the playoffs. It's like,
yeah. No, I've been watching last couple of weeks. Obviously we're out of it now, but still, I pay close attention, and defensively, I'm always looking at what's going on out there. And it's one or two things defensively. And I had some people at the house the other day and was kind of yelling it, and they're like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, the defensive squads that were having success, they were pushing the pocket, maintaining containment. And when I tell you that, it sounds easy, and it really is hard to do. Consistently if you're not a disciplined player. Yeah. And I'm not saying that, the play, I don't know a lot of these guys personally, but I'm just talking about schemes and how you do things defensively. And I know the teams that had success this week, they all pushed the pocket and they showed strong discipline on containment. And especially when you have two quarterbacks like Baltimore's quarterback, Kansas City's quarterback, and even the Texans' quarterback. They're all scramblers. They're very mobile. But if you're getting after them pretty good, and that front four is playing, ears pinned back, you can make a lot of things happen. You make them nervous, and that's a lot of what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me.
From just not even knowing what I was watching with I saw like 4 dropped balls that looked like, just like a pass that went right through somebody's hands, and that's like, sometimes it's just like when you get the jitters and there's a lot at stake and you just miss it. Yeah. It's like
a lot of turnovers. A lot of turnovers kill you. I mean, it's only a couple of things that are going to kill you, and they always talk about protecting the ball and cut the penalties down. I mean, teams that, and again, I say these things, and the teams that are really good and the teams that have had success, you watch them and you watch what they've done consistently, and it's taking care of the ball and keeping the penalties down. You got to be smart offensively and defensively. You make a tackle, you blow somebody up. You don't want to be standing over and doing the skull and crossbones. You get back to the huddle like you've done it before. If you make a big catch for first down, you don't need to walk out there and give the arrow that it's a first down. Go back to the huddle. it's hard to do. Everybody's trying to work their brand, and everybody wants to get noticed out there. They want to take the helmet off so you can see it was me, so I can get a nice marketing deal with somebody.
That's my least favorite thing about who's Conor McGregor. Like, I can't stand him, the showboat. It's like everybody loves him. I'm just do your thing. It's like
Yeah, but MMA is a different animal. That's not a team sport. Individual sport, he's making so much money.
No, I know, but that whole strut he does, I'm just like, I can't wait to see him. But I almost don't want to watch him just because of that. Like, that's what I've always loved about the Pats is that they just kind of they do their thing, and then like no flash. It's just that's
But you know what's funny about that though? True, and that's the story, and it's true almost always, right? But every once in a while, these guys have. That's the part that's so tricky. And it applies to all of us, right? Is that obviously with athletes, I think because there's such a rooting interest, it's weird, right? Like people treat us like we're special, and they write articles and stuff. But no one's at home rooting for us. It's different. People root for athletes, their loss. I always tell people when fans are angry at an athlete that loses. I always say I always go back to, you guys see The Bronx Tale ever?
Yeah.
So the great scene where the mobster tells the kid Mickey Mantle wouldn't pay his rent, right? So I always tell people, I'm you're mad at that guy, but that's his actual career. Right. That's a bad day for him. You're mad that we're out of the playoffs. How do you think Brady feels? How do you think Edelman feels? How do you think, all of them? Go to any player. There's a guy that we don't even think of who's on special teams, and today's a bad day for him. That was a professional loss for him. But I think because of that, we ignore the fact that you're serving sort of two different things when you're out there. You just made a big play, and obviously you acknowledged it, that they're there to get paid. That's a job,
right?
And so it's say you didn't own the places, but you're just say you were the exec, but you're not. It wasn't your restaurant. Of course, you're trying to make the guest happy, right? You're trying to score the points. You're trying to win the game, but you're also trying to get ahead in your life, right? You have a kid at home, and you're trying to make sure. So in football or in any pro sport, that's also kind of the dilemma. Is if that guy's not getting ahead, he makes that play. He's thinking how are they going to notice me? Are they paying attention? I don't know. I always think that athletes get too much criticism for celebrating because I'm
there's a difference
competitive.
between
I
celebrating and then being because it's tomorrow's another day and they just have
100%.
to. You know what I mean? They have to do it, and it's I think with chefs that are flashy drive me nuts.
Sure.
The ones that, and it's your food has to be good to the last meal tomorrow too, and if you're. I just got this thing and now I'm ready to hang it up. It's no, they're people that, I've been cooking for 20 years and they mess something up. Yeah, and they don't say hi to me in the supermarket.
But see, no, but I'm with you there. Flashy chefs annoy me too, but
I'm one of them.
Well, no, I don't think I'm one of them, but I think that there were times maybe in my career where I would maybe fight a little more for attention. And you're an example. I've said this to you privately. I mean, you're a legend. You're somebody who
I'm flattered by that, but
you should be flattered, but it's also true. It's real true. And so, you don't have to prove that. So when someone comes in, and I used to have a guy that worked for me, worked at a great place in Vermont for years, and the chef there was a German guy who killed it, and he'd done such a great job in Germany. He came, he opened this small inn in Vermont, and people would come in and give compliments, and he said he would always turn and just say, "The food's good here." So it became a phrase around here, when we kill something, it was this older guy's way of saying to all of us, listen, we've arrived. Just acknowledge you're good.
Right.
You live that because you've been through it, and obviously, I mean, you're in the Hall of Fame. Your career stats speak for themselves. You don't have to dance. People know who Andre Tippett is. But if you're a third-year player just getting some time, you get to the quarterback. You're if I don't dance, they might forget this half sack.
No, and I say this all the time, and I get the same response back, and I tell people, that's great to celebrate. Hell, I threw my hands up in the air. I've done that, but do it when it really matters. It's 4th and 1. It's 10 seconds left in the game.
Yep.
You're getting ready to go in at halftime, and they've pushed the ball, and they've kept the defense out there for a long time, or the offense is doing things great, and they're moving. They're trying to get into position to score a field goal or something. You make that catch, or they make that catch, celebrate.
Yep.
But every time, you do something, I just want to slap some people sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the one that annoys me, I don't really care, but I just think it kind of would hurt is the guys that have the football, they get a first down, and then they drop the football. Now the ref has to go walk 4 feet. You think you're going to get that call next time now? Now
No,
you
agreed.
just made his leg. Well, just toss it to him.
And
now he might remember,
yeah.
but if you make him walk 5 yards to pick up that football now.
Sometimes they're like in a hurry up. And I'll watch a wide receiver make a great play, get up and do the air, and I'm like, dude, get back to the line. Like, you're hurting the team. You're not helping the team.
What are you doing?
Yeah. I think about slapping them at that time. It won't be. It's not as much of an impact. But I think about doing it.
Yeah, but that's what it's all about, man. I mean, it's
emotion takes over sometimes.
Yeah,
100%.
And, you hear the phrase, we do this for the team. We're bigger. This game is bigger than you, and it really is. When you're winning and you're used to winning, you think that and believe that and buy that. A lot of guys have never had that experience, so when you tell them that, they look at you like, well, I'm trying to get mine.
Right, of course.
And
Well, a big playoff loss like that, I always think about those guys, like you said, Avi, the third or fourth year guys, maybe getting a next contract, maybe not. The lifespan in the NFL is not that long, you know what I mean? So it's like
crazy short.
It's like 3
actually
years or
crazy
something.
short.
I don't even know if it's that. But then it's like, they lost that game. Now they don't have another week of tape, They might not get a job. They might be in a practice squad next year. Who knows what their life is.
Never know.
They could be across the country. Their kids have to move schools. I mean, it's like the life part of it, obviously every fan doesn't care about. And, it's not our job to care about it. But that's the most heartbreaking thing. Like the star quarterback, he's gonna have a job, next August. Yep. It's not going to matter, but it's those guys or the guys that get hurt late in the season. That's the other one that are on their rookie deals and they get hurt, and now it's like, well, now I missed the playoffs or I don't have another week, and now you're rehabbing all year. You don't know if you have you don't even know if you have a squad next year.
Right.
So those are the ones that I always think about. Like, oh, that sucks for them.
2 to 3 years.
Is that what it is? 2 to 3?
2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
2 to 3 years. And then you think about, you say that, and it really is true when you start looking at the bigger picture of a roster. But then you take your hat off for a guy that 20 years. 21 years.
Unbelievable.
A guy like Matthew Slater. He's made his living as a special teams guy.
Right.
I got a son that's playing college football. He says, Dad, you think I can play?
Five interceptions this year, I read, right?
Yeah. And so I say to him, I don't give him the answer that he's expecting. I said, anything's possible if you're willing to work. I said, I don't care who you are. I don't care how big you are, how small you are. If you're willing to put in the work and you get lucky here and there, but you got to work and you got to be able to do things that you don't normally think that you would be willing to do. I said, to be in that game and to play it as long as you will or you can, you got to pay a price. And I said, if you're willing to work hard. I said, now you don't give me the standard, I'm a grind. I know how to grind. You don't know how to grind, man. You live in Sharon.
Right, exactly.
You know about grinding. I said, you got your own room.
I grind.
Yeah, I said, I split a room with 3 brothers. And I'm like, you got your own room and everything, and you got a car. And I said, I didn't get a car until I got drafted. So I like to remind them of those things. So, but it's the league is tough.
Oh, of course.
And even though rules have been changed and different things like that, it's still a tough guys league. You got to be mentally tough. There's so many guys that are talented that can jump out of the roof, jump out of the building, and probably run a 4.140 and do all those things. But when it's time to get out there and face someone and compete against them,
and it's cold.
Well,
it's mental toughness right there.
On that note, I know all you guys work hard, but I've heard that before, Andre.
Well, so what I was going to say there.
Hold on, Avi.
I am proof you should do everything you can to live your dream, whatever that may be. I did not have the material advantages, but through commitment to achieving my goals, using the advantages that I did have, and listening to the wise men and women who offered their support, I was able to live my dream. This was my dream.
I love that tagline right there. Love that tagline.
That's a beautiful thing, man. It really is amazing.
That's your Hall of Fame speech, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
I watched the 2 coaches yesterday get tagged, Jimmy Johnson and Cower, and that's will make a grown man cry when you get that touch. You've been elected. You're in, and you cry. You make a grown man cry.
Yeah,
It's a gut-wrenching feeling.
A lot of people are crying just listening to that, and it's not even happening to us.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
But the point is, you worked hard to get where you are. Dave, you have 3 restaurants. Literally, I've never seen anybody work as hard as Avi. I mean, this guy works like 120-hour weeks.
I joke about that. It's like he gets more done before noon, like any given day than I do.
You're just less flashy about it. You work hard.
I do, but I start slow.
So you know what's funny? So I was gonna say, like, so the vision I have for these conversations is that I think there's this commonality between anybody that's reached any level of success, and like there's not a Hall of Fame in our career, and if there was, I'm probably not destined for it. You probably are.
Well, you're working hard enough.
But I'm working hard enough to try to get there. But I will say, like, we don't, and my son's much younger, and Dave's daughter's even younger, but people that work for me that come, and every once in a while we're fortunate enough to get somebody who's young and wants to get there, and they ask the same question, like, can I get there? Mm-hmm. And it's funny because listening to what you're telling your son, I find myself telling young people that same thing, is that, like, I always tell people, like, it's not that I'm smarter than you. It's not that I'm tougher than you. It's that I have, like, a stronger stomach lining, and I'm going to keep working harder. I was a big Jordan fan growing up. And the quote I always talk about with Jordan, and I think this applies to cooking so much, and it's made me, if I've gotten better than anybody, it's just because I work harder than them, is that, like, there's this quote about Michael Jordan that they said, like, they asked him in high school, like, why he's getting to the gym at 5 a.m., and he's like, well, I showed up at 6 once, and somebody showed up. So I came in at 5 instead. Yeah. And it's just like, you tell anybody, it's like you work hard enough at anything. Oh. And there are things like physically, there are things in life that, like, look, I don't know if I could become an NFL linebacker, but I know I could become an airplane pilot if I worked hard enough at it. Right. I mean, you can do that. And in our profession, it really is just about hard work. Yeah. It's just like, there's people, especially with the Food Network nowadays, I'm sure you see this, that just come in and they have 5 great services, and they're like, all right, Dave, am I the sous chef now? Yeah. Like, Dave, can you put me on Instagram? What's it say on my coat? Yeah. Can you write that on my coat? Different coat. Yeah.
It's not gold.
They don't put your name's on the front of the coat.
Inside.
Is it on the inside?
Inside. It says and what number you were. Like, I'm 247. Yeah. And has my.
That's not a lot of people.
No, that's a very small amount of people.
Oh, wow. That is.
No.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's like a good-sized catering job. That's like. By the way, wedding. Dave and I are available if that party ever comes up. If that party ever comes up,
Hall of Fame game.
Yeah. Hey, I bet the food's probably good. The food's probably pretty decent.
Food's okay.
Has to serve you all right, probably.
Yeah,
I wanted to. Oh, was it? Yeah. No, I could picture them being like. It was like.
By the way, this will tell you everything you need to know about Dave Becker. Because the thing about you is, like, you're a Renaissance man. Like, I do a bunch of different stuff. You do a bunch of stuff well. So, like. You make plates.
None of those well. It's like flat.
Dude, the nicest 4 bowls in my entire house you made. I swear to God, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. I try to take pictures on all of them.
So I had something I wanted to bring for him, but I forgot. A Senchin jar.
Oh, get out of here.
So I only have one. I was going to make another one if you like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. He's going to hold you to that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well, I didn't tell my wife that you were going to be here. I just told her I was working with Avi because I know if I'd have told her, she would have wanted to come by and pick your brain about the rest. She actually absolutely loves the rest. She's got a lot of girlfriends in the area, so that's the meeting place.
Oh, cool.
Very
so, cool.
Yeah. Through the years, a lot of it, and always talking about sweet basil and things like that. So
that place is special.
That
place is special. Yeah. I always tell people, like, so it's crazy to me that Dave has become like a good friend of mine, and he's been so kind with his advice sometimes. Because, like, when we actually, so Corey was the one that, like, I was, like, so embarrassed. But Corey introduced us to the table. He said to Dave, he goes, my friend Avi's a chef, too. And I was like, I mean, we're
and then we just started talking
different
music,
baskets.
I think.
I was like, we shoot different baskets. But the thing about sweet basil that, like, I fell in love with was the first time that Corey and his wife Kara dragged us out there. It was, like, 2-hour wait. Yeah. And we're sitting there, and, like, the vibe is just alive. And it's bring your own. So, like, we've got our bottles of wine. And they just, like, offer to open them. Yeah. And then they start, and Dave's, like, standing there in the front, like, handing out, like, appetizers. I'm like, dude, I could do this. Like, I like waiting for 2 hours. So now I find myself disappointed if I get to sweet basil and there's no wait. Yeah. Like, I'm like, there goes, like, that's a part of my dinner gone.
I got to sit down.
Yeah, like, that's a part of my meal missing.
I'm the opposite. I just get takeout.
Yeah. Just takeout? Dude, I love that vibe. Like,
No, it's great.
Keep the blood sugar up. Keep people from getting pissed off.
Yeah, it's funny. Oh, go ahead.
It says a lot about you care. You care about your customers, and it's smart. I mean, I've been so many places where I can sit freaking hour. If you tell me I gotta wait an hour, and I'm like, all right, screw it, I'm gonna wait an hour, and I'm not gonna say anything. But I ain't coming back though.
Right.
He made me wait it out.
Yeah.
But the fact that you go around and you kind of de-escalate the whole, because it can get ugly. People. How much time? Where's David? Is he here?
Yeah.
Where are we on the list? Because I've been in restaurants and me and my wife, we love to eat, and we're foodies, and we've seen it all. We've been around the country, around the world eating, and it's unbelievable when you watch people when they lose their shit.
Yeah, they get upset.
Yeah.
See, what I loved so much, and I've said this before to you. I've said this in rooms full of people. I modeled like my customer interaction over like after the way I watch you interact with customers was because like, and by the way, I've learned in life, and I think this is just true about everything in life, is if you just care,
yes,
and then just be honest, because actually like people will figure out that you're a human being. Right. So I'm at Sweet Basil and I'm like sitting there waiting, and this woman just starts kind of like losing it on Dave, and she probably doesn't even know he's the owner or whatever. She's just like, those people that bark at the person at the grocery store.
Absolutely. She's
just like barking at him, and she's like, why would I wait 2 hours? And he just goes to her. He's like, to be honest with you, I wouldn't. He's like, but if you'd come back here on a Wednesday night, it's actually really easy to get a table, right, and we're half empty, and I would appreciate the business. Yep. And I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I can't skip these people. And I've learned that, like, actually, that's real. Like, I got a review this weekend, and, I did my homework, like, as soon as, because that's the beautiful thing about reservation systems and everything. Like, you want to figure out who it is, and if your front of house is strong, like, they have an idea who someone is, right, when they made the res, blah, blah, person called ahead, see if they could move the res earlier on a Saturday night. Well, we can't do that's why that spot was available, blah, blah. Comes in a little grumpy. So the 2-star review they put online might have had a little background, but at the same time, I've always said I don't believe people put fake review. They put how they feel.
Absolutely.
So I sent this person an email. I found their information, sent them an email. Full apology. Don't duck. I didn't say like, "Hey, sorry, my team." I said, "No, that was I messed up." And I want you to come in, and I want to buy you dinner, and I want to earn your trust back, because I look at it and I'm like, we're at 4.9 stars at Simcha, and we've earned all those 5s, but you earned that too also.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to make that right, then and I learned that watching you. Just like, I was honest with the person. I didn't say, "Hey, we suck." Yeah. I didn't say, "Oh, you must have had a bad night." I didn't say we had a bad night. I said we messed up your meal, right. And I know we're better than that, and I want to fix that for you. And I didn't know how to do that, honestly, at one point in my career. I used to get my feelings hurt. And watching this lady berate you. And then you were just like, yeah, I'm with you. I also would not wait 2 hours.
I wouldn't be here either.
I was ready for him to leave with her and go next door. Like, you know what?
Let me go next door and buy you a drink.
Because the pizza place is dead. Let's go eat.
Yeah. Well, I think it was one of our first time, not that first time, but another time we were there. And one of our friends was like, they said it was going to be an hour. And Avi goes, what do you want them to do? Tell somebody to get up and leave? Like, right. We've been here, and people are sitting there having a good time. Like, it's fine.
I mean, I say all the time, I'm like, there's no, like, special list either. So, like, you can't, like, make a big enough stink to, like...
I know. We've tried to get on it.
Yeah. There's, like, if I go in as a customer, like, it'll never be
we always send a gopher. I'll be like, yo, go put our name in at 5 o'clock. You know, we'll be there at 6:30 or something.
I'll go down the street and have drinks myself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the other great thing. And then just give us a call, and we'll be there.
Ready.
I think the only thing that it's like if you're like waiting and somebody like walks right up, like they do this all the time in the North End. Like people like, there's like some VIP walking right up and they kiss them on the cheek and they go right in. You're like,
Goodfellas.
Yeah, totally like that. And you're like, wait a second, I feel like a chump. Like I was okay now before, now I feel like a loser. Yeah. Like, but if you're like, if everybody's waiting and it's cool, and if you don't, then it's like, send out some snacks, and if they still don't wait, then that's fine too.
I've read a lot of funny reviews over the years. One of the funniest ones was actually like not that long ago. I mean, our restaurant's small, and it's smaller than Sweet Basil, but at Sweet Basil we don't take resis, so everyone's on the list equal. We take reservations, so people don't always understand. Like your dining room's half empty, and you're being told you can't get a seat. Well, like in an hour, someone's coming in, and that feels like a long time, but you would have taken longer, so it gets awkward. But these people came in.
You could probably work out a deal with them. Like, hey, I have a table, but it's like are you cool being out of here in like an hour if we like...
I just always feel so weird about that. So
send them out something like on the house and like kind of include them with like, give them like a backstage pass.
See, that's why I take a device, because you would do, and I'm going to try to, I'm with you.
And then like start it out like, is there anything you guys don't eat? And they'll be like,
Right.
no, why? And then just be like, just sit down, and then like just send them out a couple things, and then, but if you go and you like your food takes forever with that table, then it's on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they don't get it, and then they have 10 minutes to eat before they have to get kicked out. Then they'll get pissed. But if you just put on a show, you know what I mean, and then like move them to the bar and then buy them dessert, then they're gonna like they're gonna love you forever.
Do you know what's so funny about? Because I'm just listening to this. I love that. I love your advice there. But I'm watching and I'm going like, you know what's funny about not funny, like awesome about what you do is that and Andre was saying like the care shows is that nowadays like all of us, and maybe I am flashy, I don't know. We worry about all these things that are like gonna get attention and all this, but actually like you're just great at running hospitality and like that, and not worrying about the review, just like actually worrying about the person there. Like I think I was worried like, oh, if I sit them and then they feel rushed, like what are they gonna say about that? But no, you're right. Like if I was honest with them and I just said, hey, look, in an hour that table, hopefully they'd appreciate that. Like if that was your review, if that was your reservation on the other side, you wouldn't want me to sit someone.
Well, that would be like the litmus test. Like if they don't go for it, they're dicks.
Yeah. That's right.
You know, just
the
be like,
the problem is that dicks review things at like an exponential rate relative to not dicks.
Yeah.
So,
but think about if that happened to you. Like you show up at a restaurant that was booked, and you couldn't get in, and then the chef comes out. It's like, hey, we can squeeze you in, but we're probably going to need that table in like an hour. Are you cool with that? And then they followed it up with like anything you guys don't eat or drink, and then they just like kind of showered you with some good stuff, and it's like all you need to do is like schnib off a little bit of the carrots off of somebody else's and give them that to try. They'd be like, this place is amazing. Like it would be even better than if they just had a reservation. Like it would be a special moment. You know?
No, you're right. Well, the review that I read that I thought was just hilarious was this person like waited legit maybe an hour on a Saturday night when they had a resi. Like they showed up, but just people weren't moving.
Right.
So my GM bought them a round of drinks. And then when they sat down, I sent them out an appetizer. Then they had their whole meal, and we had run out of cauliflower. And they were like, oh, like we sat here for an hour, like they said to the server. So the server, thank God, talented, good at their job, cared, said something to me. I was like, all right, well, like, how long do you think they're going to stay? And she's like, I don't know. Like their entree course just got put in. So run downstairs, somebody get me cauliflower. We put it in the oven, try to speed that process up. And then like when it was looking a little iffy, we sent dessert out on us to keep them there just a little longer. Boom, come out with a takeout container, cauliflower, no cover. I said, hey, just at least take a bite now because it's better than it will be when you go home. Right. But it's been great. This person was over the moon. Next morning I look, review. 5 stars. Boom. Very complimentary of us. But the funny part was, spent half of the review reviewing the customers that stayed, saying, hey, if you make a reservation on a Saturday night, don't stay for an hour after you're already paid.
That's right. Yeah. Get your ass out of
And I thought that was so funny. I said, this person reviewed the customers and like spent this whole thing giving etiquette on a restaurant.
That's cool.
And I was like, man, thank you for the 5 stars. And that's hilarious. Like, I can't say that to the person. But this person was like, you see us sitting at the bar, and you know that you've already paid your check.
Yep. Get up, leave.
Yeah. But it's weird, right? Because, like, you want people to stay forever. I mean, you don't. I'm not saying you want them to, but you want them to feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, most of the time,
I've only kicked people out a couple times for staying too long.
Okay.
And it's when they were rude when they were waiting. And I'll be like, you know what? You're consistently inconsiderate. Like, I bet you're like this in every aspect of your life to each other. Like,
did you say that to them?
Yeah.
I love that.
I've only said
I'm
that.
not there yet. I got
that
17
like
more years
before
I'm ready. And then, hey, if I ever get there.
No, you could. Because, like, if it's like you have that be like the third bullet in your gun. So, like, if they come back at you with a good comeback, then have that be like, I bet you guys are...
No, take a recording of this podcast and just play that part for them.
Out loud over the system. Over the system.
Yeah,
Be like, how long's my table? And they're just like wretched people. And then when they sit down, once they sit down, they couldn't give a shit less about other people.
Right.
They're like that to every human they encounter. Like they're probably their own children.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'm not saying it's my job to teach them a lesson, but it'd be like if you're going to lose a customer because they waited too long because of someone else. It would be like you'd rather lose the person that you kick out.
Yes.
So if you're going to lose either or, then
That's
you kind
fair.
of weigh the scale of kicking someone out versus somebody.
Well, I think for the most part, I mean, I know I'm like this, Andre. I don't know about you, but like if I go somewhere and there's even a 20-minute wait. Well, I'll just post up at the bar then. I'm like,
but I'm like that too. I mean, but not everybody's like that. But I'm with you. Yeah, like, and then you judge.
It seems like just normal, right?
Listen, it's only food. Like, I always tell people to act like that. Like, I'll be at the bank, and the person will be like rude, and I just turn to them. I just give one of those like elbows, and I say, I wish that I had so few things to worry about in a week that this is what moved me. Totally. Man, they don't like that.
Yeah. Then you have to stand next to them.
Looking at what's wrong with this person?
Well, but like, why are you berating this person? Like, this is really what it did to you? Like, listen, it's not their fault. 5 people walked in here to do the same thing at the same time. Right. Like, that's not their problem.
So I have no idea who said it first, but it's like anticipation is the only guaranteed joy in life. And it's true. It's like looking forward to something looking forward to a vacation might be better than the vacation. And looking forward to a meal might be. So if you can like set up your whole night, like it's like you're always looking forward to like.
Something tells me being in the NFL Hall of Fame is different than that. Something tells me that after the anticipation was realized, it was better than the anticipation. Am I right?
It is pretty cool.
Yeah.
What did you do the night you were told that you were going to be in the NFL Hall of Fame?
What did you eat that? Oh, I guess.
Or what did you go do?
I was actually, it was 2008. We were out in Arizona for the Super Bowl.
That's right.
So I was out there with family. We, I must have had 20 people come grab me and grab my family. We all went out and we ate and we drank and we had a really, really, really good time. It was Saturday night, and my whole family was out there.
Yeah.
And it was just cool because you was running into people and everybody was acknowledging the fact you finally got in. And by the way, the crying thing, it goes both ways because in 2007, I was home by myself. My wife was doing something. She said, "You want to go with me?" I said, No, I'm just going to stay here at home and wait for the announcement. And I was there by myself, and I got in the room, but I didn't make the final cut. Got the call that it didn't happen, and I broke down like a baby, and I was crying. But I was home by myself, and I'm like, shit. Next year, 2008, I get the word. I'm there. Everybody's around. I'm screaming, cried like a baby. So, you know, and the things, the 2 things that I did, and it's how we were raised. 2007, didn't get in. I wrote every voter a thank you note, a hand thank you note. I said, I understand. I know it was an honor. It was a privilege for me to make it this far. Appreciate you guys getting me to that point. Got in next year, 2008, in Hawaii, and spent like almost an hour and a half. Again, thank you notes. I'm in. I can't thank you enough for you guys making that final vote and making me part of this year's class. I'm so appreciative. I can't tell you how many of the voters saw me later on and said, that was the first time I've ever received a thank you note from anybody.
Really?
It's respectful.
Blew me away.
It's like
it blew me away.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't. Yes.
But that's the funny thing. I mean, listen, everybody.
Is that the same as a Simca review? That's like a handwritten thank you note. And that guy said, "Oh my God, all these people were at the thing. Oh my God, Avi sent my thing out cold." That's not the same thing.
No, it is the same thing.
Same thing.
It is the same thing.
Absolutely.
And the thing is that, like, so it's funny. If you think about it, like, what's so funny is the day before you became a Hall of Famer, right? The body of work was done.
Right.
Like, you had done it. And actually, so what I was going to say earlier about this, it tells you everything you need to know about Dave Becker. Great at Pottery. He'll be humble about it. Same thing, amazing chef. He'll be humble about it.
Right.
But when I invited him to come on today and told him that it was going to be with you, he calls me back the next day, and he'd, like, been reading up on, he's not a huge football fan, so he knew stuff that I didn't know,
right.
Which then got me thinking. And I didn't realize the year you were the Defensive Player of the Year is, like, arguably the greatest defense of all time played that year.
Right.
And
right.
and then Kerry got to explain to me that statistically the breakdown is you and LT have essentially the same career statistically. And
absolutely,
which is incredible.
Absolutely.
And that body work's already done when they decide if you're going in the Hall or not.
Absolutely.
But it feels different when someone validates you, right? Like,
yes.
It's different because it's like once they gave you that jacket, it's over. Like, they can't take it from you.
It's over.
No matter what. People can debate all day. Yeah. Top 5 linebacker of all time, not top 5. You've got the jacket. Hey, listen, I'm in the Hall. 247, is that what you said?
247.
Yeah, so it's like after that, listen. And then Ty Law got in.
Yep.
And I saw you guys together, and there's not a lot of Patriots in yet. I mean, there will be, right? Hopefully.
We're getting up there. We're building up the numbers. We hope Richard Seymour gets in this year.
Yeah, which is, so I'm as a let me fan out, be a geek for a second. I'm as someone who appreciates the X's and O's. I want to see Richard Seymour get in. I think that would be so cool because the NFL's different. It's just a different Hall of Fame in that, like, football's just different. So the numbers, it's not about numbers. Richard Seymour ate up double teams for years and made a great team.
No,
great.
he was the foundation. Too.
He was the foundation.
First draft pick, cornerstone.
The fact that writers are intelligent enough and committed enough and thorough enough to recognize that in a world. So this brings me to, like, I don't know if you saw the podcast last week, but I shared some views on food writers, and it's like there are people that review you. And by the way, I think this is true about any review that's, like, published, any time that somebody writes an article about your profession. Probably why the Hall of Fame's so special, right? Is because it's not me telling you, dude, you're amazing. Dude, I don't know what it takes to be an NFL linebacker. It's people. It's people that know what it takes, saying you're good enough. Right. That's why they get Richard Seymour, is because we might all go, Richard Seymour, how many sacks did he have? Right. But we don't know. We don't know what the scheme is. We don't understand double teams.
Better. Absolutely.
Right. Exactly. Right. We don't know those things.
This is a weird question, but how often is there somebody on a team that's not talented that good, but they have, like, charisma and magic, and they're able to, like, affect an entire defense with their, like, I'm guessing probably not that many, but, like,
not that many. I mean,
but they're all talented, though.
Yeah,
in fairness, they're there.
Yeah. So if they're there, but it would be like they're not the. I'm just trying to think of, like, in a restaurant, you have
somebody.
Who
Steve Smith is? I mean, I know you'll know who Steve Smith is. The Carolina Panthers wide receiver, super, like, out there, loud voice guy, right? I don't know him. I don't know if you know him personally.
I don't know him personally.
Okay,
but he
so
scares me sometimes.
Yeah, he's a little scary, right? But he did. Remember the whole baby punching thing?
Yeah, there was a block. There was a block.
There was this website that used to do this thing. Yeah, you saw that?
Ice Up.
It was funny. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah, Ice Up, son. But he did an interview once in Playboy magazine. I bought it for that interview specifically, and it was when I was in college, and I read the interview, and it stuck with me about football forever, and maybe even about other things in life. Is just they said, what's the one thing about the NFL that fans would be surprised to find out? And he said that every player in this league could be the best player in this league in the right situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me when evaluating players, is that, like, look, you could be Chad Johnson, and, like, he's in the Hall. Or is he?
No,
he didn't get in. No.
Ocho Cinco?
Yeah, no, it's Terrell Owens that got in. But Ocho Cinco, like, he might be in the Hall, right? And yet he comes here, it doesn't work out, and it's just in different systems.
It doesn't work out. He did. Listen, I hate when people say that.
Okay.
He might not have had a good season, but he played in the Super Bowl and had a catch in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
So as far as I'm concerned, you contributed.
So again, to be clear, when I say doesn't work out, I'm speaking as like a fan on like a surface level.
He went from superstar to, like, barely getting the offense.
Right. I mean, don't misunderstand me. Yes.
I understand.
Didn't work out. He stuck with the team.
I misunderstand.
Like, and by the way, guys that get cut are still, like, if that guy made the team and then was the chirpy one on the defense that made it go, he is still good enough. Like, there are probably guys that get cut that are good enough.
No, like Kyle Van Noy, right? Where he was in Detroit.
You remember Nate Dornicamp?
Nate from Boston College.
Yeah, he played at Boston. So my brother-in-law was a college basketball player. He played at BC during Troy Bell's years. Troy Bell's getting his number retired in a few weeks, actually. They're all going to be in town for it. So he when he was a senior, this kid was a freshman, kid from Canada, Nate Dornicamp, 7'1". This was, like, the beginning of, like, that stretch five idea. This kid was an outside shooter, but he's 7'1". And I used to watch as a fan. What is this kid doing? Like, for 4 years, this kid, like, you're like, what is this kid doing on the floor? He doesn't belong on the floor. And then at the day that my brother-in-law got married, we all ran fives all day in the gym, like, before the wedding. And most of his friends, his cousins and stuff are high-level basketball players. So me, his brother, a couple dudes are just trying to keep up. And this kid, Nate Dornicamp, is there, and he's 7'1", and he's the filthiest basketball player I've ever seen in my life. Like, doing things that, like, 6-foot kids shouldn't be able to do in traffic. And then afterwards, I'm a decent outside shooter, and I challenge him to a three-point contest. I go 3 for 5, 4 for 5, 4 for 5. He hits 14 out of 15 shots. And he's a 7-foot. And then you go, yeah, like, I was calling him, like, a scrub on TV. That kid is so good. Yeah. That kid is so good.
Absolutely.
So I didn't mean to imply that Ocho Cinco didn't belong on that team. That was not my implication. That's not what I meant.
Our first play in the podcast. You know?
That's not what I meant.
That's what you said.
No, I did not say that about Ocho Cinco. I'll say that about, I don't know, I'm sure there's some players that you go, like, I don't know about that guy. Like, really? Like,
no, there's a lot of players.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's also, 90 people start
what position's the easiest position to be kind of like a scrub? Because there are positions in certain things. Like, dishwasher actually has to be kind of a gangster at a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to kind of, like, be
hardcore.
That's a tough position.
He always
And you
tells
have
me,
to
he's like,
organize
man, I'm having dishwasher problems.
It's like,
I'm like,
but when you find one who's got guts.
Playing the triangle.
Right. It's like, when you find one who's got guts. But there are positions that it's like, you could kind of like, you don't really, what's the position in football that, like, you could be overrated because, like, being there counts for something? Like, just like, it's not linebacker.
Running back.
It's not cornerback. It's not cornerback.
You can be on the line with, as you like the term I like that you use, with some filthy defensive linemen.
Yeah.
And you can be so and show up because everybody else is focusing on those guys, and all of a sudden you got 16. You got 16 sacks after the season's over.
Right.
And like, damn, he's good, and they don't realize that
It was everybody.
You got three over there that really could take a game over, but because they've been concentrating, you're the free man.
Right.
So if you don't make those sacks, then shame on you.
Right.
So you get a lot of that stuff.
Do you remember Nnamdi Asomugha? He was the cornerback in Oakland for years.
Yeah.
He was being compared to Deion Sanders.
Yes.
Because his stats for years, like the mark of a great shutdown corner isn't necessarily picks. It's are they even throwing at you?
Right.
Well, he played on a terrible Raiders team, and they were terrible by, like, they could beat me, Corey, okay?
Yeah.
But, and he played with them for like 10 years or 8 years, whatever, and like he's never even getting thrown at. Like, never getting thrown at. Then he goes to the Eagles. That year they loaded up Asante Samuel, everybody.
Yes, yeah.
They started throwing at him. He had 2 bad seasons, cut out of the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
He actually went to the Niners, gone, and like I think they cut him 2 days later. And I always thought, I'm like, that's a funny thing to happen because like 3 years ago they were comparing him to Deion Sanders.
Oh, yeah.
And now, because Deion used to be on good defenses and not get thrown at.
Right.
You were making choices to not. You were going to throw at a good corner to avoid Deion Sanders.
Right. And that's what happens. You get these guys that get these big contracts, and it happens all the time. It usually happens 2 or 3 times a year to a player who's been somewhere, and he's surrounded by great players that he stands out. And then all of a sudden now you got to step up and you got to fight and take on, and you got to do some things differently than you were not accustomed to. And all of a sudden, you're turning down that fight. Yeah. And you see it a lot.
Did you interact at all with Hainsworth when he was here?
A little bit, not a lot. From afar, he was an interesting guy.
So I ran into him one time, and it's funny because like now that they've built that whole mall, even just as like a fan, sometimes you'll run into some people. Sometimes you run into some people at some times that you're like, So like I remember you might have even been there. We were at CBS Scene one night. No, was it CBS Scene? No, what's the other one? Bar Louie.
Bar Louie.
Which is the one that has like a private back room. I think it's Bar Louie.
Davio's or Bar Louie?
I think it's Bar Louie. It's got anyway.
Yeah, it is Bar Louie.
Yeah, and I was like, oh wow, that's Albert Hainsworth, and I said that to the bartender, and he was, he's in here all the time. He stays like an hour and a half after close, and then like boom, cut like a week or 2 later, and like you said to your son, you just got to work hard. That guy had all the tools, all of them.
Oh, absolutely.
And he boom, but he made his money. That's the funny thing, right?
Oh, he got it. Yeah.
I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah. He got that big payday, and then,
in a league where not everybody does.
Yeah.
A lot of guys get ripped off.
It's hard. I mean, when that spotlight taps you on the shoulder, man, you got to be ready to step up. And when that money is out there, man, you got to be ready to do it. And a lot of guys that they get lulled into a false sense of security because I'm around these filthy dogs that have been playing, and I've been reaping the benefits, and all of a sudden my contract is up, and now I got to go on the West Coast, and all of a sudden I'm getting exposed, and that's not nothing new. I mean that dates back to the 70s, the 80s, and we all knew who they were, and and all of a sudden these guys are he's not having a great well shit, look at he's not around what he was used to being around. So,
right. And plus, as a teammate, I'm sure you understand, who works and who doesn't.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
absolutely.
I mean, especially a game like football, I'm a big believer in team chemistry. You know what I mean? Like talent, you need talent. but you need there's 11 guys out in the field at the same time. So if you can't trust the guy you're next to, it's not going to work out.
That's true for us too. What's the best? Because I always try to keep up with all the stuff you had done and all the places you've been.
I was going to ask, can you, it's like I realize you're dealing with a whole bunch of grown men with egos. Can you, like, say something gently? You know what I mean? Like, it's like...
That's a good question. How do those conversations happen?
Because, like, you go to, like, somebody...
Is it you? Is it the coach? Because they're your coworker, right?
Yeah.
You're not their boss. But once you get, like, a little authority, like... Because it is legacy. Like, listen, man, you're messing with my Hall of Fame bid.
Right.
Like,
Leave 'em like a post-it
for real,
note
right?
on their
Like, for
locker.
real, though, kind of, right?
Yeah.
How do those
Yeah,
conversations
you're just, like, messing up.
Because I wish, I don't know, do employees in your company talk, like, get on each other? Because for me,
Well,
sometimes
you guys
I
are
wish
like,
they would.
You're like, you guys are like, Avi and Dave, you guys are like player coaches, though. And
No, I
Andre,
have-
you kind of were on the field, but you have a coach, though.
Absolutely. Well, usually it's your position coach.
Right.
So you can go to them almost?
Yeah, and you got a great relationship. If you're one of those known to be hot-headed, that position coach can come and calm you down and talk to you later. When it comes to that, we're going to have a come to Jesus meeting. That position coach is going to come and pull your coattail. Look, the reports you hanging out late after the place is closed. You need to clean your act up and get some rest. And so. There's somebody there, and it might be a teammate, and it might be a player, it might be one of the captains that, hey, I need you to go talk to Dave. Dave, he'll listen to you, and you're like, all right, coach, yeah, I do it. So you'll have the conversation. We good? And yeah, I'm good. I understand. I know. All right.
That's pretty similar to how it works with us, right? Like,
So it would never be the head coach that would even handle any of that, though, or maybe sometimes.
No. Oh yeah, no.
if it gets to that.
Smoke signals with the position coach or the captain or the teammate. Smoke signals. Hey, look, I'm tapping you, I'm trying to pull your coattail. And then when the head man coming to see you, it's too late. So it's like,
that's at that point it's over?
It's almost over,
Oh.
Yeah. So you're only going to get so many warning shots,
I don't know, actually. I don't know how you... Like,
I deal with tons of
teams.
egos, and it's like I have... there are a bunch of people that I have that work for me that, like, they see me as almost like a parental figure.
Yeah.
And so they won't do what I tell them just because I'm like, I don't know, like it's an authority problem. Yeah.
Quick question: did your parents ever sign your paychecks? Mine never did.
No.
And I get offended by that because I'm like, I feel you on like they treat me a little bit like, especially as I'm getting old. I always wanted that.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe then they'll treat me. But I sign paychecks.
I saw you guys give it. I saw you give like a 16-year-old like tax advice like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's true.
What do you mean you're not their parent?
That's true. I'm like,
He's got 13 kids. 11 of them work at Simca.
I hope you're counting Adley. My son thinks he works here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, you see my son here working. I have a great picture of my son when Phantom was here. Of my son like taking your order. And I'm like, my son doesn't at this point doesn't know who he's interacting with, whatever. I'm saving that because someday I'm gonna show it to him, and I'm gonna go, dude. Do you know who, when you were 5 years old, 6 years old, you were taking Andre Tippett's order?
No, you know what? He'll be doing it at the Hall of Fame when you guys get the catering gig. You know what I mean?
Catering gig, absolutely.
I thought you meant at whatever Hall of Fame we were somehow getting inducted into. That would mean something.
Hold on. Well, speaking of
My
Phantom
speech would
Gourmet,
be like 6 hours.
I didn't want Dave to feel left out, so I got a little Dave soundbite here.
Beautiful.
Oh, God.
And you know what, Avi, you did say Dave's great at everything, but apparently not handwriting.
At least
that I believe.
most of the time.
Balani is, we're actually doing like a Pan-Asian American restaurant, and it's based off of a typo. It was actually supposed to be Baladi with a D, and my lawyer misread my handwriting. He thought it was an N instead of a D. And I was like, fair enough. That's good.
And that's just...
Totally.
That's the most Dave Becker story I've ever heard about Dave Becker. Because the thing is, Balani's a dope name.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like Baladi.
I like it's
to be
better
honest
than
with you.
Baladi. Yeah. Baladi sounds like Pilates.
Have you been to Balani yet?
I have not.
If you want, we can go. I mean, I don't have a lot of... Are you guys open on Sunday nights?
We know the owner.
We're going to be starting on Monday. Or this Sunday.
Cool.
Sunday. Yeah.
We should. It's a very cool restaurant, and
It's fun.
it's funny because I always tell people that Sweet Basil was my favorite restaurant.
Yeah.
Until Juniper opened, and by the way, it's not even a bias. Like Dave and I are friends because I loved his restaurants, not the other way around. But Juniper is just crazy dope. And then when Balani opened, I went And I would say, I've told you, it took like 2 or 3 trips before it became Juniper.
Yeah.
But I remember what I was eating when I was like, I turned to my wife, I go, this is Juniper now. This is Juniper now. And I mean, it's the same chef.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, who's dope. I mean, he's great at what he does.
Tim's the perfect example of like the guy that doesn't want to hear it from me.
Yep.
But so I find some like uncle figure to go, and I'll go to like his sous chef, or even like he'll like be more likely to listen to the dishwasher than me.
Right.
And I can go over and be like, hey.
But that's
can you
hard
cook
because
that?
it's like,
we've worked together off and on since we were kids.
and it's
but-
weird, right? Because when you're too close with someone, even that, like I know I feel that you're a legend. To me, like when you talk, and I've said this to you before, like when you talk, like if I worked for you, you wouldn't want me to work for you. But if I worked for you, I'm like,
I've actually thought about this because I was on time today because just in case things don't work out, I want to work for him.
dude, you can work out. Now, don't make me root against your restaurant.
Hey,
don't make me root against your restaurant.
You know what the most important is, though? The dishwasher is most important. He already said it. So
No,
The thing about Dave is that Dave's
I've
like
fun.
me. Dave's like me. He'd bang the dishes out. Like if the dishes are there, he'd bang them out.
I've already talked to I've talked
said to
about
me
this
before,
'cause
he's like, I'll
I'm
wash
like
dishes.
chronically
I'll wash.
tardy, so like I already know
Oh,
like
yeah.
you'd hate me from day one, but I'd be like I'd stay late too. I'm like,
Yeah.
There you go.
But that's the thing is like sometimes people get too close to someone that they don't realize. And it's funny actually sometimes. And I was going to ask you about this with current teams. Is like sometimes people, it's like when you keep them this far away from you,
Right.
they're like, oh, that guy's a legend, that guy. But then they start to get close, and then they start to like after a while think like they know better, right? So it's like if you came around once in a blue,
Right.
you probably like, yo, come here, man. Hey, I saw that you were like taking a couple plays off right there. You think this gold jacket's free? But when you're around, they start to think like, oh, that's Andre. Oh, that, like,
Yeah.
and it's the same thing. Like your guys, like you're just the kind of guy that like you're so relatable. They get to a point where like they know what you've done, but they don't know what you've done. And that's why like whenever I've been around and have conversations with you people, like I'm always like the reverence that I have for you is clear. And I think like it's almost probably weird for them because they're like, they almost have more reverence for me just because they don't know me.
Yeah,
they're almost like they don't know me. But I'm like, dude, that guy right there, if there was a Hall of Fame, he's in it. Like, how long has Sweet Basil been there? 20 years?
20. It's going to be
years,
20 in
long
March.
time,
Yeah.
yeah.
Dude, 20 years. That doesn't happen. And it certainly doesn't happen like where you're still like there are a lot of circles that say that's the best restaurant in the greater Boston area.
That's cool.
I mean,
like
it is
that.
cool.
Yeah.
It's amazing,
I like
right?
that.
But it's true. Have you
Yeah.
ever had do you disagree with that?
I don't.
You
disagree.
created those circles.
Yeah. So my problem when I go to Sweet Basil is I always end up getting the same thing. Like once in a while.
That's on you, not on him.
Rosemary. No, it's not. 100% on me.
That's not on you,
I
that's on
always
him.
try to convince
I mean-
my wife to get something like that I haven't tried before.
you're stuck
You
in
know
a
what I mean?
rut.
I know.
You gotta
Once in
mix
a
it
while,
up.
like you know what? Actually, last time I got bolognese.
That's
I think.
why people like us change up menus, but then they get mad at us for that.
Yeah.
But you're like, dude, I want you to eat something different.
Yeah, but my wife was like, you gonna look at the menu? I'm like, it's too good.
I know what I
It
want.
is so
It's
What do you
so
get?
good.
I'll try anything. I'll try.
I want to
I'll
give
try.
you the lamb shank. The next
Oh,
time.
lamb shake. I've had that too. That is actually good.
I mean, the lamb shank's great. It is.
It's like it doesn't even taste like people that don't like lamb. Doesn't taste like lamb.
See, it's funny. I have like the
I'm gonna have
opposite
to try it.
complaint.
I'll try it next
All right.
time.
I have the opposite complaint. Like I always want. Like, I don't watch the same movie twice. I don't like to listen to the same song twice. And so, like for me, I go in and I'm like, oh, like everything looks good, but I know, I almost like came here for that. But I want to try this. Sometimes I just order them both.
Yeah, you talk someone else into getting that one.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, when I come here, I
Cut a
like,
little piece off.
I don't.
That's why I got married. It's like, because she's gonna share whatever I get.
Yeah, of course.
So instead, I'll be like, I'll order them both. You can share them both. All right.
No, but I haven't got the Yemeni chicken once since I've been here because I've already had it, and I'm like, well,
Yemenite.
Yemenite, whatever.
That's cool.
Yemenite. Sorry, Yemenite chicken.
So-
Yemenite chicken.
Before I forget, like while I was telling someone what I was doing today, and I was mentioning that you were going to be here, and he's like, didn't bring up football once, and he's like, you know what that guy's known for?
I was gonna ask about this. Yeah.
Leg sweep. And
Famous for it.
So he
Not the same way Albert Handworth. Not the same as Albert Handworth.
So he's like, dude, he's like,
You don't wear cleats when you do it, do you?
He has the only Weichi Roo studio in New York City. It's called Downtown Dojo in Manhattan, and it's Tim's older brother Jeff.
Oh no,
No kidding.
And he's like, that guy's a legend. But had no, he didn't.
yeah. How did that start? Like when and how?
Hold on. So real quick before you get into it, because I did read an article about this when you started young, and I was wondering if you had anything to do with because the Patriots have a martial artist on their staff now, like a D-line coach or something, hand-to-hand combat. So I'm like, that probably helped you.
I used to do all that with all the guys.
Yeah, is that right?
Every guy that's been on the squad, I've worked with them, and just so they all looked at me like.
Are there any of them that
you
could take you in a fight? Anybody on the current roster could take you in a fight?
Nah.
No, right? No.
Because I'm willing to do things that they're not.
I love that answer.
I tell them, I say, it's old man versus young buck. I said, I'm going to hit you in places you've never been hit before. You just got to know that.
I got a funny
It's me and you.
So I always try to. My mom's from the Buffalo area, so like a lot of all my family's still there. So I go down. I try to go down every year, see the Pats Buffalo game. That's why I sent you a message this year because I was down there with the beer truck.
Yeah.
And so I try to get all the Pats fans in the area to come hang with me. But so we were down there a couple years ago, and there's like 4 Patriots fans, unfortunately, young, 20s, early 20s maybe, hanging, and they're just like. They think they're funny. Like one of them's in an an OJ jersey. They're all Pats fans, but one's in an OJ jersey with one glove on. Like they think they're being funny, and they're drinking and they're being loud. And there's like 4 early 50s, let's say, guys in front of them. Clearly Bills fans. They're in my section. I'm not in Patriots gear, thank God, because I don't want to be identified with them. They're just being jerk-offs the whole game. And finally, one of them throws a beer on a woman. And the dudes turn around.
So the Pats fans did that?
Yeah, and then it gets into a scuffle, and these Bills guys beat the shit out of these Patriots. And the Patriots fans got thrown out. And as they're being dragged out, I turn to people, I was like, you just don't fuck with dudes of a certain age. Because there's a string, like that guy is, out of all, the tail of the tape says I should win that fight. That dude's been around. He knows things I don't know. And and he's not going to be quick to fight. But once it's a fight, like this is not
full on.
Yeah, this is not a game. This is that kid wants to throw one punch and then go, yeah, I hit that dude. That guy's going like, you're leaving here bloodied and embarrassed. Yeah. And that's exactly what happened. It was ugly. And I found myself being like, yeah.
Good for you.
No, hey, listen, it's not team laundry at that point. It's like, kid, you came to a public sporting event and poured a beer on something. What are you doing, man?
Right. The year we beat the Eagles down in Jacksonville for Super Bowl, leaving the game, and it was like a 4 or 5 block walk to get back to our buses. It was just like a wave of people. And there were about 8 or 9 Patriot fans, and then there were some Philly fans in front of them. And my group, we were behind our Patriot fans, and they kept busting their balls. And I finally walked up to them because they all had been drinking a little bit. I said, look, you guys need to calm down, be cool. Don't rub it in. We won the game. It's over with. Don't be that guy. Yeah, Andre, yeah, man, we got you, man, we got you. And they took off, and they started up again. Man, about 3 blocks into it, the Philly fans did a about face, man, and rained on these guys. And we were watching them. They rained on them, man, for about 5 minutes, and it was the ugliest beatdown I had ever seen before. Yeah. And I walked by him. I said, see, I told you guys.
Yeah, I tried to help you, man.
This is what I was trying to tell you guys. And they bleed. Oh, man. We kept walking. But it's crazy. But the martial arts is something that obviously I started in Newark, New Jersey.
Right.
And it was, if you know anything about Newark, New Jersey, you got to be able to throw hands.
Right. What's the connection with it? You grew up in Newark?
I grew up in Newark.
My wife's from Chatham.
Yeah, okay.
I spent a lot of time in that area.
My high school coach used to live in Chatham.
Okay.
And eventually, he moved there, and then eventually somewhere else. But I know the area well.
Do you still go back there sometimes? Or no?
Yeah, I try to go back once or twice a year. I still got family back there. And
Star Tavern, ever been?
No, I haven't.
It's in, do you know the Oranges?
Yes.
So West Orange, I think it's right on the line, like West, East Orange. Very
South
different
Orange
places.
Avenue, going all the way up. Yeah.
So Star Tavern is arguably on lists and stuff the best pizza in America. I'll bring you some. It's there. It really is. Yeah.
Wow.
So
wow.
I'm there 2 or 3 times a year too.
Yeah.
Never don't go to Star. I make the trip by myself sometimes.
No kidding.
Sit down, drink a beer, eat the whole pizza, bring the other one home.
Yeah.
Say I got one.
There's a ton of food, man. When I get back there, I usually go here, go there, but
It's a good food area.
It is unbelievable.
You know why? Because I'm sorry. Let's get back to the martial arts thing. But the thing about New York. So my father-in-law is from Yonkers, and I always say to them, I'm like, the thing about New York when it comes to food, and we'll be there in March. We're gonna cook at the Beard House. But the thing about New York is there's too much good food for bad food to survive.
That's right.
So as soon as it opens, boom, gone. And so everything's good.
Yep.
And now Jersey has become like such a, not in a negative way, but like such a suburb of New York that it's like that's an extension of that population-wise. It's
we'll
just
go there and eat.
There's too much good.
Yep.
So bad opens up and it's gone. It's Darwinism for food, but almost instant.
Absolutely.
So you can't sell bad pizza in New York because good pizza's on every block. Yep. So gone.
Just like you can't sell bad wine in Sharon, right? We're on bottle number 2 of this Vinovations.
You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
So again, Vinovations in Sharon. Thank you very much for sponsoring this episode. Jason Lee over there is a cool guy. Always doing very cool stuff. There's actually an event space over there too, which is like super cool. They do a nice job at dressing it up. My new cooking show on cable access is actually going to be filmed out there, and they built a beautiful, like crazy showcase kitchen in the place, and so they do all these like bachelorette parties and corporate stuff and rehearsal dinners. It's a nice space. It's a really nice space. So thank you for sponsoring us, people. Go book your next event at Vinovations, or if it's too big for Simca.
Simca first.
Yeah, but so you started the martial arts in Newark.
Yeah, I started there, and I learned as we all do. You get into it for self-defense reasons, and then it became more than, you hear the cliche, mind, body, spirit. It's more of a way of life now, and it's about the who can I protect. I'm not looking to do anybody any harm.
Right.
Only time you ever see me throw hands is it's a life or death situation, and I got to protect myself and my family.
Right.
But the more you train, the more you feel for people, because I know so many ways to hit a person if you had to, and it's just so that anguish, the anger and that you used to have. It's gone. It really is. I mean, the training you can have a bad day. You can put your gi on, you go train step on the floor, and you forget about everything that was bugging you that day.
I'm not trying to be funny, but who spars against you? I know that there was no way to say it without it being a joke, but I'm being serious.
It's funny. And you say that, I used to compete a lot. And
it's just not a lot of guys doing it your size. That's all.
Well, back in the day, it wasn't a weight. It was like black belt, sign up. So I could get a 6'4" guy. I could get a 5'2" guy. It didn't matter. It was just whatever name got called. And then eventually they went lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, grand champion. So winner of the lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight division would go into it. Somebody would get a bye, and I would end up fighting a lightweight. He'd think that, I'm going to kill this guy. And all of a sudden, I am as quick off the line as he is. All of a sudden, bam, and he's, what the hell just happened?
You think he looked at you and thought, I'm going to kill this guy?
Well, seriously.
He looked at you and
most karate guys, they're looking and said, you know what, I'm going to kill him with speed.
Okay.
Because he's big.
Yeah.
He's going to be slow, and they don't know me. And then the other thing, after we've competed, and this is even when I was playing high school, college, and I competed in the pros also.
Wait, while you were in the NFL, you were doing this?
Oh, yeah, in off-season.
And that wasn't against the contract?
I didn't tell him.
Okay, all right.
They say, hey, we got
we
got something going on the West Coast. We need you out there. I'm like, all right, I'll fly out and see you guys out there. But all of a sudden, they would hear the name, and they're like, wait a minute, Andre Tippett. You're not that Andre Tippett that plays for the Patriots.
Nah.
Nah.
I get that a lot, though.
Like, you are him, man. Holy shit. I'm competing against. So all of a sudden, guys are like, look, this dude is legit, man. Not only he play football and a black belt and can fight. But, yeah, all of that stuff, man, was self-defense. But then after I got to a high grade and I realized it's more than that, I've gotten to travel to Okinawa. I've even tested. I've graded over there in Okinawa a few times, and I'm planning to go there this year. Hopefully, I can make it work in a couple of months to take a trip over to train with the masters and And but
the kids do this too? Your kids?
No, all my kids try. I had them all in it.
Didn't love it?
And they all trained for like a year, 6 months, 3 months.
So when you tell your son, like, yo, you're not grinding, like I'm grinding, that's
absolutely.
what you mean. Yeah,
absolutely. Because he went to his mother, because he didn't come to me.
Okay.
I don't want to train anymore. But
Ooh.
now he says to me, we went to go watch. He's a junior at Towson University. Plays. He's a strong safety. He says to me, one of the games this year, in all season, I want to work with you with my hands. I got to. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, you've grown up with me in the household.
Yo.
You just want to work with me now with your hands?
You should have just brought him the white belt. You should have just brought him the white belt. But like, all right, son, you're a white belt, man.
Here it is.
Yeah.
I said, this is why I had you training, and I wanted you to do this because you wouldn't be having this conversation with me. You'd already know. But he understands now what he missed out on. Yeah. And I don't, it's not for everybody.
Football being so, violent, did you ever try to push them away from football or,
Nah.
Just do what you love?
Yeah, my son, I was blessed with one son, 3 daughters, beautiful girls.
Right.
I
do they play football?
Nah.
What do they do?
They soccer, sports, cheerleader.
Cool.
And the oldest trained the longest. She trained for about 3 years.
Okay.
And then she quit. But she got to reap the benefits of being in the dojo on the floor with me and understanding what it's really all about. And it was pretty cool.
Dave's got a little girl. I got one of each. And I tell all my friends that only have – I got a couple friends that only have daughters. And, like, I don't know. I can't speak for you. But I know a lot of guys, like, it's like, oh, like you want a son. You just want a son. And when I cried, your Hall of Fame moment, that was when we were there and they said, all right, it's going to be a boy. We found out. But the funny thing is that, like, now having one of each, I never miss an opportunity to tell my wife and anyone who will listen, especially my friends that only have daughters, I'm like, I never want to miss out. I wouldn't trade, like, having a son and, like, for, whatever Darwinistic instinct is there or whatever. But if you told me I could only have, like, one gender, not one of those 2 kids, I'm not giving up either one of them. But, dude, having a daughter, it's just different. It's amazing. It just changes you. And to me, and I tell people that only have a daughter, I'm like, dude, it's mad. It's just different. It's just different. If I had 2 daughters and no son versus 2 sons and no daughter, not now knowing what I didn't know, I would have 2. Like, it's just incredible having a daughter, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got 3 of them. My son is the baby of the bunch, but my 3 girls, man.
Oh, so you kept swinging. You were like,
yeah.
Listen, we're going to do this.
Yeah,
it was like, boy, she was like, all right.
It was like the 4th time. It was like, if it's not a boy, can we go ahead and agree to it? And I'm like, no, it's going to be a boy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a boy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
it's a boy.
sure.
I know it's a boy. Yeah. And it was a boy. I was like trying to lock me in on another one.
That's hilarious. Well, the funny thing about Avi's kids is, how old is Adina? Is it 2.5 years younger than Adley?
She turns 5 a week from today, and she's 22 months younger than Adley.
22 months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is she at the point where she can bully Adley now?
Oh, of course she does. My daughter is tough. Like, my daughter is a bulldozer, and my son, I love him. And I want to tell you that he gets, like, his real soft side from his mom, but the reality is he's, like, exactly how I was at that age, which is funny because, like, my dad is, like, my dad in his prime, I would it'd be a good fight with you guys. Like, my dad was like, he's from Israel, and he's like 5'4" on a good day, but he's just like, he just grew up
determined.
He just grew up in a position of like, there is no lose.
That's right. I win.
So, like, and the funny thing about my dad is, dude, my dad tries to do things even now. I'm like, this is so dumb. He can't do that, and then he does it. Yeah. Like, not just physically, anything. You go like, I don't know, dude. My dad owns 17 restaurants throughout his lifetime, and if you meet him, you go, that's really crazy. Like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. You go, I don't know if he knows how to fill out the paperwork. Yeah. But man, he did it. And so when I was little, and it was like, I was soft. He used to be like, oh, you're like your mom. You're like your mom. Now I look at it, I'm like, the world will like, I need soft sons and tough daughters are a good thing. Yeah, like, I'll be all right. My daughter is tough. My daughter doesn't take shit. She couldn't take you in a fight, but there's a couple pictures she could take.
Yeah. At least she wouldn't quit. She wouldn't back down.
Oh, not my daughter.
She'd keep going. I like that.
No, you'd get annoyed. Yeah, you'd be like,
I love it.
Too much.
I love it.
So, yeah, they're cool. They're fun. Your daughter's rowdy.
Yeah, no, she goes for it. She's
Yeah.
only a year and a half, and she's just like walks like a boss. Swings
Dave and
her
I spent
arms.
Thanksgiving together.
No
Actually
kidding.
here.
Yeah.
And
She's
came by.
hitting her head off stuff.
Oh,
she
and
didn't
yeah.
care.
Right back up.
The cool thing about you and Jesse is that like you guys don't even like a lot of people first time parents. By the time you have the second, you're like, pick that up off the floor, go ahead and eat it. But with first, like people panic, and you guys don't do that. You guys are like, she hits her head on the table. Like, she's cool. She's all right. She's tough.
No, I caught her fake crying in the mirror. I'm like, this is over. She was like trying it out. She's like, yeah. That's funny. We like sparred. Like, how's this gonna go over? And then I was like, anytime she pulls it, like,
That's funny.
So the karate started in Jersey.
Yeah.
So you basically never stopped since.
No.
You still do it?
No. Yeah, she'll train.
Wow.
She'll train.
You just said he's
I
trying to go to
I don't push
Japan.
myself as it's funny. I used to try to go 100% all the time, and I have people looking at me like, well, "Why are you going so hard?" Well, I never know when I'm going to have to use it, and I want to make sure it works. I want to, pace yourself.
That's what I tell my wife, by the way.
I don't know how to do that. I just everything is
Diesel.
yeah, and I'm smooth with it. I mean, I've been doing it a long time, but
Right.
it comes second nature to me.
Yeah, technique.
But there's a speed, there's a work ethic to it. There's a, you got to see things, you got to put some emotion to it. There's some style to it, and but most of all, you have to understand the technique. I understand the technique of what I'm doing.
Was there any validity to my friend's comment about the leg sweep?
Oh yeah.
Is that your go-to?
That's a go-to. You can find the baddest person in the world, and you're lined up across the floor from him at a tournament, and he's standing there stomping and giving you, and all of a sudden, you fake a oizuki to the face, and then just take that front leg out, and boom, and it just drops. It drops all emotion, and
That just hurt me.
they will spin. They will spend the rest of the match trying to figure out when he gonna do it again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Got them on
So
the
the match
heels.
continues after. I don't know exactly how these matches work. I guess I thought Oizuki, leg sweep, gone, done. That's McGregor would have already been smashing someone's windshield at that point.
Well, you have those 2-minute matches, 3-minute matches. Then you got some tournaments that are like a full ippon, which is 1 point.
Okay.
So I can hit you as hard as I can. If the judges doesn't deem it 1 point, you'll be out there for a long time. You can get some half
Let's not do
points.
that. Let's make it like you hit me one time and it's over, all right?
Well,
how much did I get paid for this fight?
Well, when you don't get up, I think they give you the point.
The foot sweep, though, is like full point. So when I've been in tournaments and I've just
That's the end of the match.
Bam! And the referees, everybody's like, ippon. And it's like over. No catch. Winner.
Now, did you get the same feeling?
I was just going to ask this.
Did you get the same feeling from those tournaments as you do going into an NFL game?
Yeah.
Same rush?
Yeah.
So for me, a lot of people don't know this about me. Dave knows this about me. Dave, you coming to my show on the 27th? I'm back in.
I forgot about it, but yeah.
I'm back to it. So I used to be a rapper. So I say used to. I consider. People go, oh, how long? When did you stop? I never stopped. I just
You do the intro every week now.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
you
here.
can spit a little bit, huh?
I'm the best you've ever heard. I really am. Like I'm way better at that than I really though. And the thing is that so I did shows like.
And
I
this
came
is
up
Middle
through
East, right?
Yeah, so this one's at the Middle East. So
I'm about to put this beat back on.
I did shows like coming up in Boston. And like I earned it, like my first show ever was at, now it's called Brighton Music Hall, but it was Harper's Ferry. It was Tuesday night. The guy who's now the number one, and he's owned Boston's hip hop scene for 10 years now, promoter in Boston, Lee's Edutainment. And he was like, guy that I knew that was doing big things in Boston at the time was like, hey, if you can get some people to show up on a Tuesday night, we'll get you a show. Cool. We did. We brought 80 people out on a Tuesday night. And like they were like, you can have another show. And we just kept earning it till like I've headlined every venue in Boston, and then did shows in Chicago, Detroit, Columbus, Ohio, Jersey, New York, and I just then I accidentally opened a restaurant.
Yeah, I was
My
gonna
dad
say,
kinda
opened, like,
pressured-
4
My dad
businesses.
pressured me into it, and then it's like I actually released the last album I put out was like a year after the Chickpea opened, and then I just haven't never had the time. And part of it also is that I wouldn't say I've lost the drive, writing again. So I'm doing this show at the Middle East on the 27th. But it's not that I lost the drive, but it's that the adrenaline rush of doing this, of crushing service, and the artistic outlet just replaced it. And it stopped being when I'm stressed or I'm frustrated. People ask me people joke with my wife oh, does he ever cook at home? only cook. Like when I'm at home, if we're gonna eat, I'm gonna cook.
Yeah.
My wife's an amazing cook, by the way.
Right.
But I love to cook. It's just I love to do it. It's my
in your DNA.
It's what I do.
Yeah.
So it kind of replaced that. And then I did this podcast with somebody like 6-7 weeks ago, and she didn't believe I could rap. So I started rap, and then it's like it relit. It like the fire lit again, and it's different. It's like they're the same. You're the only person I know. You got to have an ego somewhere deep down, right?
Yeah,
we all got egos. We all got egos.
Come across like that.
I just never see. I just like you're like the guy that's like you. I don't know. From my perspective, it's like you're just like you just are the best, and then go like, oh, am I? I didn't even notice. Like I've
been doing it a while, so it's like I've been kind of like
second nature.
Yeah, or just like it doesn't.
Do you find that doing like the pottery and making the plateware and all that stuff?
Pottery's huge.
Do you feel like it replaced like the same adrenaline drive?
No, it's like the opposite. So
Okay.
it's like it evens it out, where you can like that. Everybody's got a couple things that are like meditative is the word, where it's like you play golf or you go fishing or you like ride a bike, and it's like a point where you reset your brain. And I used to ride my bike home, and I'd be like steamed. I want to fire someone and kick their ass. And I live at the top of a hill, so I'd get to the top of the hill. And you know what? I think I'll just talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Dude, those guys are so lucky you didn't live at the bottom of the hill. You would have just landed more mad. It was just like the rush. You're like, yeah, I could do this.
He'd be in Andre's dojo. Be like, yo, you gotta teach me that leg sweep. You know what I mean? Like.
How the leg sweep came up, he's like, you're confident and you put your foot, you think you're putting your foot down. The next thing you know, it's 2 feet to your right. It's like, and you're on your face.
Oh, that's a bad moment.
Yeah,
So one of my cousins, so I'm actually, because I have an Israeli passport also. Are you an Israeli citizen?
No.
Okay. So I'm an Israeli citizen. It's just something my dad did at birth. And so like I got drafted into the military, and I deferred. I actually wanted to go. And I was 18, and I was like, I'm going to go.
Soft.
And my dad said, well, my dad was like, oh, you can't go. And I said, why? He said, it was actually a fair point. My dad doesn't make a lot of fair points. Mm-hmm. He was like, well, in Israel, everyone goes. So when you come out and you go to college, you're 3 years older.
Yeah.
You're going to go, and then you're going to have no choice. What are you going to stay there for? Like that? Is that now it's already almost locked? Because there, everyone's your peer. Here, you're going to come back. You're going to go to you're going to be a freshman at 21. So I understood his point, and it's kind of funny. And now my godson is actually my godson's 16 years younger than me, and he's there. He's actually in his second year. Yeah. But anyway, the point is, I was the first of I'm the 25th out of 26th of my grandparents' grandchildren, and I was the first to not go, and my twin sister is the other one not to go. And it's just there was somewhere I was going with this, and I don't remember what it is now. Training, maybe. I don't honestly know what we were talking about.
We're talking about the foot sweep, the martial arts.
Yeah.
And these, I think, because
my cousin was in. Thank you.
This is how every story goes with Avi, by the way.
Yeah, it is. I just was like, now I'm thinking about my grandma, and I just
I
lost my
wasn't even
mind.
thinking about
But
it.
no,
It's
so my cousin,
same one.
Yeah, the same one. So my cousin, he was. I had a couple cousins out of 24 who have been in like special units or something. But this one, like my cousin Ofer was like in special units. And then when he finished, he's the bodyguard of not the prime minister, but the president. It's kind of a figurehead, but he's the president's bodyguard now. But he was like in special units. He was an El Al guy for years. Well, when they first finished the military, they like come and like they travel the world, go to Thailand, go to half moon parties, whatever. They come to the U.S. He came here and he's like staying at my house for like 2 weeks. Him and I drove to Niagara Falls. One day, like I'm a lot big, like I'm 5 or 6 inches taller than the tallest person in my dad's family. They're just not tall. And so I'm big, and I was like 17, 18, and he's like unbelievable, like as far as like his like what he's done. And I'm thinking like we could do that, and he always wanted to mess around. So he's like, and next thing I know, my face is on the floor, and I don't know how it got there. And when you talk about the leg sweep, I'm like, that's what if you ask me right now, explain how you got, I don't know. We were just kind of like pushing and shoving, and my face was on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know how that happened.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's an unbelievable sport and an art. And the fact that I got a chance to spend a lot of time in Okinawa, I really appreciate it even more, the value of the history and the system and the training because we do Okinawan karate versus Japanese karate. And in Okinawan karate, you condition the whole body: legs, arms, lats, stomach, back, muscles, glutes, And I mean, when I say conditioning, you bang the body. We do what we call katikate. And in the kami jars that he said he was, we put sand, pebbles in the kami jars, and you work your grip. You walk in sanchin kata with it. And so all of that stuff that I was able to develop carried over to football because I was able to, all of a sudden offensive lineman is trying to set you, and all of a sudden, bam, you hitting that forearm, and you're hitting it in a way that he ain't used to, he ain't going to snatch that thing out of there. So all of a sudden now they got to figure out another way how I'm going to set this guy pass rushing.
Yeah.
So, and I love the bang. I mean, I'm bang. I'm like, what are you going to do to me that hadn't been done already?
Right.
I've already been kicked in the shins. I've bruised my shins. I've bruised my forearms, and I'm let's go. And I don't blink. That's the other thing that kills people. You wear him down, and all of a sudden, this one, he ain't stopping. But that's the mentality. I was able to, like I say, carry it into football. It helped me to push it to another level.
Think about that. Like, he hit, like, the meaty part of your forearm, and it's like you can't even, like...
And they're like, bro, this is the NFL, not you're not. This is,
right.
what are you doing, man?
They're pulling that bad boy. You see tape, man. They snatching it back.
You remember Lude?
Yeah, of course.
So, like, our good friend in college, he was an all-state corner, actually, in Jersey. He played at Mount Clair Kimberly. And then he actually, like, sad story, like, Michigan State gave him an offer, and then he shattered his shoulder, returning an interception senior year. He ended up going to Northeastern. That's where I met him. But he told me, like I'm, like I said, I'm an X's and O's guy. I love it. He was explaining to me that, like, the trick as a corner was, like, that they'll never call it on you is as you start running stride for stride, smack him every time down on his quad.
Oh, yeah.
He just
Absolutely.
can't get his quad going because he's getting hit.
Yeah.
He's like, what the hell's going on, man?
Absolutely. Mike Haynes used to tell me that.
Yeah?
Yeah, he said, Tip, you get a running back in coverage, man. All of a sudden he's running, you just run with him, and all of a sudden, pow, just hit him. I said, for real?
Do you used to do that?
I tried it. Yeah,
Yeah.
It worked. Made it work.
Well, it only takes
yeah.
a flinch, right? And then they're
Oh,
off
yeah.
their route, and then that's it.
You just trying to get them off their route, slow them up.
Right.
Slow them up.
Do you remember? Do you remember both your touchdowns, NFL touchdowns?
I think I got one against the Raiders where we blocked a field goal or a punt. I scooped and scored, and then down in Houston, I blocked. I think Raymond Claiborne blocked. I scooped and scored. I think.
And
You probably don't know this, but I've actually never scored an NFL touchdown. That's not a thing. I've never have. No, that's a thing about me. But I'm two behind you.
You know,
If I ever get a chance.
You got to catch up.
on this podcast, we have 2 NFL touchdowns.
Yeah, that's true. Between us, actually, Becker, between the three of us, we have 2 NFL
We got
scores.
2 of them.
And 100 sacks.
And 100
And
sacks.
is that it's 100 sacks?
Yeah, it's 100 sacks.
Even?
Yeah,
100 even. Isn't that great?
I got it last year.
You didn't want to screw it up. You were like, nah.
He was going to play one more year. If he
Had
ended
I
99.
known that it was going to make something, it was going to become something, I would have probably stayed a couple more years trying to pad the
Dude,
number.
they gave you the gold jacket.
I know.
Like, how much more was
I
it
know.
to get? Yeah. How many NFL sacks you have?
You got 20.
Yeah. What's up? I had some questions to ask you. What's the best moment in your entire career? We know. I imagine yours is getting the Hall of Fame jacket. Is it not that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
What's yours?
You should have tossed him this at the beginning. He could have thought about it for a little while.
I was holding on to it for a while. I actually thought about asking that near the beginning, especially when we first started talking about the Hall of Fame. But I was curious.
The first night that I had that nobody was angry, like my staff and the customers, like everybody that showed up was cool.
And do you feel like that then keeps repeating itself with each of the new places?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good night. But that was like, every restaurant I'd ever worked at, it was like there was always a steak that came back, and there was always somebody pissed at the front, and there was always a dishwasher storming out, and somebody like, there was just some drama. And then like the first one that just was like, wait, this can actually be like a sustainable job that isn't like, adrenaline junkie.
Oh, so even before you even opened your place, this was like just like the first night that ever
No,
happened?
I
while
don't think it
online?
had ever happened in my whole career before having my own place. Like every night there was some,
Yeah.
and if, it's like people would want to create the drama. There'd always be like somebody like, getting a fight, and they want to like just some, the waitress screaming at somebody else. And like, it's like, it would be just like in the TV shows. It would be like the same thing, but then if you can like avoid that and just be like, wait, that's that. And I can't remember the actual moment that was, but I do remember driving home one night and be like, this is actually cool. I'm gonna sleep well tonight, and like instead of the. I don't know. I know it's like anti-climax.
No, that's cool. No, it's cool. No, I get it. What's the worst? As soon as I asked the question, I was like,
the worst
if he
night.
threw it back, I wouldn't have an answer either. I don't know what it is.
Oh, worst
What's
night.
the
There have
worst?
been a few. There's like, yeah, I don't even want to go there.
I was on this podcast one time, and
oh, come on now.
Structure.
Corey, that's why I don't introduce you, bro.
I'm not even. Actually, they were from Sharon, and they were like,
people from Sharon are tough.
I'm not even going to tell you what happened because it was gross. It was my fault. And but I met them on the sidewalk, and the husband came back, and he was upset. And I was like, hey, I get it. You're really upset. I'll understand if you never want to eat here again, but if you ever want to do a fundraiser or a party or anything, like I owe you big time. And,
You didn't sleep with his wife, did you?
I said this to the husband.
No, you didn't sleep with his wife, did you? I'm like
never
envisioning
came
this.
to that.
You're like, it was gross, but you're like outside being like, listen, I get it. You're mad at me. But the ravioli was good, though, right?
She was cute, and if she hears this, she'll know what I'm talking about because it was the worst, and they know. It was like,
They know because they still review the place once a
but
month.
so like they like literally, I never saw them again, and then like 4 years later, the guy called me up and he's like, "Hey, it's my wife's birthday. You want to come throw a surprise?" And I was like, "The universe is evening itself out. Like I'm gonna roll it out on you guys. Like it's like she's gonna show up and there's gonna be a spread for her and her friends." And I did, and I still have. I've seen them a couple times since, but it was like
Nice.
it was bad.
What was the worst moment of your career?
Probably 89 when I
you
got
missed a
hurt.
year, right?
Yeah, I missed a year.
Yeah.
I missed a year because
That's
that's a
tough
year
'cause
you don't get
You
it
were on
back.
top of the world there,
Right.
too.
Yeah,
you don't
exactly.
get it back. You don't get it back. I mean, you think you do, but I ripped my my pec muscle in the last preseason game, and how you rip your pec? And it was preseason. It was the last preseason game of the year. Fullback is diving. I'm going 100 miles an hour. He's going. He's not ducking. I'm not ducking. And all of a sudden, I catch his knee square under my armpit. And all of a sudden, I go back to the huddle and don't feel right. And I can't lift anything. And that was probably devastating for me because a lot of things happened after that. And like I said, you can't get that year back.
Yeah. Nowadays, you wouldn't be playing in the fourth preseason game. Like, that's not – nobody plays in that anymore.
Absolutely.
No, I know.
I get why. I mean, that's why.
Did you have like doubts about coming back? Like, did you contemplate retirement at all, or you just rehabbed from the get-go?
I you know what I did? I ended up using that year as an opportunity to kind of just get away, clear my head. I actually went back to I had 16 hours left for my degree.
Oh, okay.
So I went back to Iowa, enrolled for the semester, took all the classes. I graduated. I was rehabbing out there. I did a whole bunch of things that I normally hadn't had time to do.
Right.
And I worked out. Obviously, I had access to everything out there.
Right.
And amazing. So I kept my head clear. I stayed busy. I got to finish out something that I had promised, my mother that I would finish up school. Almost 10 years later, but
hey,
I got it done.
Still counts.
Yeah. So
the degree in?
Communications.
Yes.
That's what Corey and I met at Northeastern as communications majors. I then got very quickly expelled and ended up getting a degree in philosophy. A lot of people, I have a degree in ethical, social, and political philosophy. The focus on race and racism. Wow. But that's because of the whole the music career, and I was just trying to do that and leave law school a possibility. Didn't know I'd be cooking for a living, but yeah, communications is cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
You put it to good use. I mean, so when you went to college, right? Did you know that you wanted to? I mean, you wanted to be in the NFL, obviously, but did you know what kind of career you could have, regardless of football? I mean,
I always wanted to go into law enforcement. So my deal was high school. All of a sudden, I get a scholarship. All right, cool. I'm going to play 4 years of college,
right?
And then afterwards, I'm gonna put in paperwork, and I'm gonna see if I can go through the FBI. I get drafted. I said, well, okay, then I'm gonna do a couple of years of pros, and then still put my submit paperwork,
right?
and then So I never got.
Yeah, well, then you became the man.
You wanted to go to the FBI?
I wanted to go in law enforcement so bad.
But specifically, like federal law enforcement, not local.
No. I wanted to be an FBI agent. And the reason why I say that, I was 10 or 11. There was a bank robbery in my neighborhood, and they were going around, and like I was a big FBI Efren Zimbalist Jr. fan. You guys probably
have to Google that.
You got to Google that.
Google's your friend, bro. That's 2 episodes I said Google's your friend, bro.
But they do door to door. So all of a sudden, here it is. I'm 10 years old. I've been watching FBI all the way up to that point. Comes on every Sunday, 8 o'clock. We'd be glued to the TV. FBI, starring Efren Zimbalist Jr. And all of a sudden, I'm glued. All of a sudden, knock on the door, flashes the credentials, and I'm literally like just all over myself. And my mother's almost to the point like she has to slap me, straighten up, stop acting, what are you all, you're losing your stuff over here.
Right.
And it's amazing. They show credentials, and then they said there was a bank robbery a couple of blocks up the street. We're just canvassing the neighborhood, and we just wanted to know if you guys saw anything, heard anything, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And but I'm like the whole time, and I asked one of the agents, can I hold on to his credentials? So he let me hold his credentials while he was talking to my mother and asking questions. So it just goes to show.
You knew.
Do you have friends?
Something like that. And I got friends
Do you have friends in law enforcement?
I got friends that I got 3 former teammates.
Okay. That are now in law enforcement?
That have done 25 years, and they've since retired. I got one that's head of NASCAR security. Okay. And he's like the VP of their whole security.
I've never been to a NASCAR race.
I'll have to let my buddy know.
I would love to go.
But and then I got a couple other teammates that are, I think they're like 2 or 3 years away from retiring.
So my uncle, I have an uncle that was a police officer for a long time in Longmont, Colorado. And it's a profession that I find interesting, especially nowadays. So with my beer trucks, we always have police detail. Mm-hmm. And those guys, police officers on a detail, like they don't have anything to do. So some of them are standoffish, but some of them be cool. And I was talking to this guy in Cambridge. He's actually like, dude, this guy's unbelievable. He was part of the forensic team that dealt with the marathon bombings.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Tough stuff, really tough stuff. And he specifically dealt with the death of Officer Collier in Cambridge, which is obviously very difficult, even just as a human being, but then as a law enforcement officer. This guy was targeted only for being a law enforcement officer. But him and I we had an incredible conversation about stuff that he does, and he just does a lot of really cool stuff. But one thing that every police officer tells me nowadays, and actually I don't know how well you know the Sharon police force these days, but I have a good friend who just joined the force, actually, like almost like a second career. Do you know Peter Canuto by any chance?
I don't.
Okay. But anyway, so it's just interesting because nowadays every police force is understaffed. No one wants to be a police officer. Right. And as you're talking, all I was thinking was we need shows that glorify that position a little bit. And honestly, what we really need is, I told you what I studied in college, we need shows that glorify police officers from every different group of people being police officers, because we do need more community engagement, and we do need police forces to reflect their communities. Right. And part of that is, well, then you need everyone to want to be police officers. Right. You have to want people, because look, I have friends that are in law enforcement. I've been at barbecues that are mostly, sometimes it fits. Sometimes the duck sounds like a duck,
absolutely.
Right? And you go, well, man, I don't know how I feel about the fact, like, when you show up and you've got a badge, like that, now all of a sudden that gives you carte blanche. Right. And I've been in weird situations in my life. So I always tell people the 2 most racist things I ever experienced were done to me, but were not racist against me. They showed the racism. So I was pulled over one time. I used to record at the studio right off of Blue Hill Ave in Boston. And I'm like pulling around the corner and I get pulled over. This police officer comes over, license registration. I hadn't done anything wrong. So I said, like, well, what's the problem? And he said, what are you doing in this neighborhood? And I said, I recorded this music studio around the corner. He was like, you're not here buying drugs? Yeah. And I was like, no one's going to believe that story. Like, I'm from Sharon. Like, my friends to this day, and a lot of them are, like, fairly liberal, they don't like believe, like when they get to talking about how the media reports stuff, I tell them stories like that. And then I always remember, like, I got myself into some trouble that I'm not proud of. And I always tell people, I'm like, I remember the day that changed me forever, where I was like, when police officers now ask me, I don't ask for badge numbers, I don't complain, I don't get critical, because I've been on the other side, and I know, like, listen, you can call your lawyer later. In this moment,
take care of
he's the boss.
Yeah.
Like, man, he can do, and like, there's a reason that there's no clocks in a jail cell of any level. It's because, like, they're in control.
Yep.
And, like, listen, shut up, and you can talk to, if they did you wrong, then you can talk to a lawyer later. But right now, they're the boss.
That's right.
And then when you see some of these national stories, which, you know, they go both ways.
Right.
But when you see them.
Have you guys ever done any, like...
Hold on, let me turn your mic up, Dave. Sorry, go for it.
Have you guys ever like, spent time in jail?
22 hours was the longest I did. 22 hours.
I don't know if I ever did 24 hours straight, but it's like probably 3 collective nights in jail. And I'm like, I'm a spaz. Like, I don't like sitting still.
Well,
you know what I mean? So it's like,
well, for me, I'm
imagine being there like
claustrophobic and super anxious. So for me, I'll tell you a funny one. I'll tell you the one funny story. I happen to be on probation for the dumb things that I did in college, and I'm driving back from Jersey after the morning after Christmas, and I'm working at a sign shop at the time, so I have to be there by 9. So we left super early, and I'm flying. I'm 22 years old, driving too fast. Out in Western Mass, and I see the cruiser sitting by the side of the road. No lights, nothing. We're the only car on the road. I'm doing 80. I just pulled over. I'm like, well, because I'm like, well, listen, it's just me.
Yeah.
Like, he's
Like,
going to do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's start off on the right foot.
He got
Start off
me.
on the right foot. So I pull over, and this is no embellishment in the story.
Andre
My-
Tippett comes up to the side.
No, geez, I would have cried. My wife starts to she was then just my girlfriend. She's like panicking, and I said, babe, listen, it's a speeding ticket. They're not arresting me. I said those words out loud. Cop comes over, license, registration, give it to him. He's a statey. He comes back over on her side of the car, and he says, no, I guess it was on my side. He says, can you please step out of the vehicle? I said, but I'm on probation, so I had to have paperwork to go out of town. So I get out, and I said, I have the paperwork. And this guy, like, genuine human being, he's like surprised and like, wait, you're on probation? I said, yeah. He's like, oh. And I figure out later that, like, he didn't want this to turn into that kind of a deal. He goes, do you know that your license is suspended?
Oh, no.
And I said, no. And he goes, who's the girl in the car? And I said, she's my girlfriend. Will she be freaked out if she sees you get handcuffed? I said, yeah. So will I, but yeah. He says, well, then, like, listen, walk with me behind my cruiser. Don't do anything stupid. I'll do it there. She doesn't have to see this.
Why do you feel like she'd be happier to start driving?
Yeah, exactly, right? So he, like, pulls me behind puts me in the back of the cruiser. I'm sitting in the back of the cruiser. He goes over. He talks to her. He tells her to follow us back to wherever we're going. Comes back over. He gets in, and before he even pull out, he starts going to his system. He's trying to figure out why my license is suspended. I'm curious, too. Turns out I was pulled over on Sturrow Drive in bumper-to-bumper traffic, rush hour, for traveling too close to the vehicle from me, right next to the state police barracks. Dude, I saw the dude pull out, pick one car, any car at random. Give me a ticket. He told me to appeal it. I appealed it. I had moved and never realized that my address had changed.
Right.
So he says, he goes, you got pulled over by a state.
Sounds like a lot of excuses over here.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just a funny thing. Well, he was like, dude, he's like, I hate how this happened. So we go in, we sit there. But I'm on probation, so they have to wait till they contact the probation officer in Roxbury, because if they want, they can hold me 60 days in Worcester State Prison. And immediately they said, no, let it go. And actually, the way the story ends up is they actually throw the probation out a year and a half early, because they were like, you've graduated, you got a job, pay your fines, we're done. But in the meantime, when he brings me back out of, like, his little holding cell to take me down to the courthouse, he does a sweep of the back seat, and he pulls out a crack pipe.
What?
And he holds it, and he looks at me, and my whole life stopped, because I'm like, for real, this is how it could all end, right? Like, I could, and he just looks at me, and I mean, it was a moment, like, it's like,
where did that
if he had put a gun to my face, I wouldn't have felt any different. It was like, and he just looks at me, like, dead straight. He goes, this yours? And I was like, and then he just starts laughing. He smashes on the ground. And he goes, first of all, it would be my fault for not sweeping the back seat before I put you in. And then he turns and goes, second of all, no offense, you don't look like a crackhead. He goes, you're a little big for a crackhead. And I was like, I've never been so offended and relieved at the same time. It was like, he just called me fat. but also I'm not going to jail. So, but yeah, that was and people that have never been through that, and I don't advise it, don't realize that really happens.
Oh, yeah.
And in that moment, that was not my crack pipe. God only knows how it got there. And can you imagine being someone in that position who then has
so
to
he found it in your car?
No, this was the backseat of his car.
in the police car.
So in other words, someone had gotten arrested
Somebody-
and stashed it. And my point is, can you imagine being the guy? What'd you think of this story? That there's a crack pipe in my car?
No, I just missed him. I missed him.
He's sitting here going why did Avi have a crack pipe?
I was like, how did the crackhead get there?
I'd like to be clear. I've never seen a crack pipe in my life except for that instance.
Wow.
But the point is, moments like that, you sit there and go, imagine if he wasn't cool and he was like, well, you were in there.
Yeah, it's got to be yours.
Yeah, it's got to be yours. And then they put that on you. How would I defend myself against it? I've never smoked crack in my life. I don't. That's not mine.
Drug test me.
But
Drug
who knows?
test me.
Well, I don't know. To be honest, we joke about that, but I don't know that shows. I don't know what that result is. So
No, I'm sure you would still get arrested for possession or whatever. I mean,
God only knows. God only knows. So
either way, that sounds like a good story to wrap it up on. But
Yeah, I was about to say, that's a great
Andre,
story.
hold on, Andre, you gonna tell your story?
Well, I was gonna.
Tell me, were you also almost?
I was almost arrested. I've never been in a cell. You asked,
Okay.
and I tell this to my kids all the time.
Sure.
I said, we're driving back to Jersey from Iowa, and it's like 6 or 7 of us that are from Jersey that are out there, and during the holiday, they get us a van, and we all drive back. So this one year, we're coming back. We got back after the holidays, dropped everybody off at the dorms. I walk into my room, and I got the stereo. You know how you got the speakers sitting on the crates?
Yeah.
I walk in, right away, I'm like, shit. Took my crates. Who's got the van? So I'm going to jump in the van, go to the convenience store, grab 4 more crates. Everybody does it. You go around the dorm room, everybody got them.
Sure.
So I go, and as I'm grabbing the crates, putting them in the van. Now, literally, we had just gotten off the fucking highway from Jersey.
Yeah.
And I look up, and it wasn't a cop, but he's a security cop in Coralville, which is right next to Iowa City. He says to me, you got permission to grab those crates. Like, what's he talking about permission? I said, nah. I said,
milk crates.
I said, we
They're
all,
empty
I said, we
containers.
all grab
This is-
milk. I said, we all grab them. I said, says to me, you see the sign. Never saw the sign. Never looked up. Please do not remove from premises. Anyone caught removing from premises can be arrested.
We'll be persecuted to the full extent of the law.
Full extent of
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy. So he says to me, I'm thinking, well, I'll just put him back and I'll get out of here. He says, no. I got to arrest you. I'm like, come on. Long story short, he take me to Iowa City Police Department, and I was really lucky because our defensive line coach, Dad, was the former chief of police. They all got word, and they were yelling down, calling down, whatever y'all do, don't fingerprint him and don't put him in a cell. So they got me, and I got lucky. But
Very lucky.
I had to go to court. I still had to go to court.
Really?
6 months probation.
Yeah.
6 months probation. I'm in front of the judge, and I'm like, I can't. I'm from Newark, New Jersey. I know people that kill people, that sell drugs.
Yeah.
I got the milk crates. From
I'm
my
here
speaker.
in front of the judge.
I hope when you went home, you made it sound like you were hard. I hope
I
you told
was-
those
I
dudes
was
like,
gonna-
yo.
He's telling me you got to do 6 months probation. So I met a probation officer
Yeah.
once a month. I'm
Been
like, are
there.
you kidding me? And the judge was a brother too, so I'm thinking he was gonna give me,
right.
I'm giving him the,
Be on your way,
you
son.
know, he like, hey, he looked, he never even made eye contact with me. He's like, all right, 6 months probation, and you're out of here.
Well, this goes back to the story that we said at the beginning, or what we were talking about. Now, imagine this day and age that happens with social media.
Oh,
Now.
Oh, that would be like
Absolutely.
a thing.
Oh,
He
now-
might cut you, legit,
Oh,
because like
yeah.
ESPN would be like, Tippett is stealing, caught. Like remember,
Shoplifter,
like okay,
shoplifting.
Right, exactly.
I
Now you're
understand.
labeled the bad
So I
kid.
understand what I'm about to say might be a weird example because I don't know that other students were doing it. But like Jameis Winston, the situation where he's like taking the
crab
lobster
legs.
and the crab legs and stuff, right? Dude, that might just be like.
His
That
boy
might
hooked
just
him
be.
up with some crab legs.
I'm not saying that that's cool or that it's okay, but for all we know, 10 kids a day downfall. That might be like the thing. Like, and again, they're goofy kids. They're maybe they're having a couple drinks or whatever. But he is a prospect or whatever. Like all of a sudden, he's on the news, and we're making the kid sound like he like had a drug ring. Pat Chung last year. I mean, that was a weird situation where like he hadn't been home in months. His key was with a bunch of contractors. The house. Do you know the situation?
No.
Yeah.
Patriot safety got huge in the community, isn't he?
Yeah.
And like, and there was this story that ran, and. He had it was New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
So
New
he
Hampshire.
has a
Like
house in New
Winnipesaukee.
Hampshire. It was under construction, like construction workers.
So he probably hadn't even been there for
months.
Yeah.
For months. People in his family have keys, but it probably wasn't even them. Like construction workers are in and out of the house. There was a robbery at the house. So that's where the story gets real weird. There's a robbery at the house. Sets off an alarm, if I'm not mistaken, right? Local law enforcement alerted, comes to the house. The details have never really surfaced as to like, were they going through his stuff? Like, what happened? But they find cocaine.
No, like on a table or something. Like,
Right,
like
On the table.
Yeah, it's like-
And then not only do they charge him, it then becomes a media story. And I don't know if anybody remembers the first 3-4 hours that was out. It got clarified pretty quick, but the first 3-4 hours, it was actually out there as distribution, which is not what the charges were.
Right.
And it ends up turning out to be something like there's no reason to even believe that he even knew happened.
Right.
But the story is
Not even
made
in
to
the
seem
state.
like this dude might be selling drugs. And you're going like, why is a guy
Why?
that has millions of dollars doing all this? Like, it didn't seem in character.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was crazy. Meanwhile, and I love him, but like, and I'm sure I've never met a person, but good
was
dude.
that big like regional news or was that national?
It got national.
Well, hey,
ESPN,
listen, it's the New England Patriots. It
right, like
doesn't matter.
ESPN
No, 'cause
grabbed
that's
that, and
what I
it's
was
like,
gonna say.
starting safety
I was going
drug
to say,
problem.
like, I feel like the Patriots are like vilified
Oh,
all the
for
time
anything.
for everything. So it's
Of
like,
course.
In fairness, like as a guy who grew up a sports fan from this area, man, I hated the Yankees.
Yeah.
So anything they did, I hated the
You pile on.
Lakers during those Shaq years. So it's like, I get it. I don't hate on Patriots haters. I'm like, I get it, man. Like, your team's terrible. I saw a hilarious meme the other day that said, like, if you're at home celebrating the Patriots being out of the playoffs
That just
instead of
means
your
your
own
team
team, it means your team sucks. Like, what do you want? Like, like Brady loses every once in a blue moon.
Right.
That does happen. We don't win every single one.
yeah.
So-
People are nicer in Boston thanks to the Patriots being good, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
As
and
soon
the
as-
Red Sox being good.
Yeah, no, that was
Celtics.
huge.
Well,
Yeah.
the funniest Patriot story I think is Twin River Casino in Rhode Island is the only sports book I think of all time to lose money because Patriots win the Super Bowl. It's like they were expecting like $20 million in their state budget. They lost like $500K. It's like
Because no one's betting against it.
no, everybody's betting on the Patriots. You can't make that line high enough in the Super Bowl. You should have made it 20, and
Right.
people would still put money on the Patriots.
Yeah.
Well,
True.
That's how it goes. But hey,
is.
that sounds like a good way to wrap up episode 2.
Thank you guys so much for coming in today.
Yes,
it was a
excited.
pleasure. Last question: do you think there's any chance we can convince Becker to join the tribe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you
So
know
we
he's
gotta
almost
work.
a Jew. Like
Well, we
he's
gotta-
almost he's
we
super
gotta
in
take-
line.
We got to take him over to the motherland. Have you been to Israel?
No.
So we
Do you want to
gotta
come?
take him over there. We
Yeah,
gotta take him
you got to
over
come
there.
with us to Israel.
All right.
We gotta take
Absolutely.
him
Let's do it.
Once
And
we
then,
take
but
him
on the
over
condition that you'll then convert to Judaism.
I
I'm
mean,
kidding.
so I'm not religious, but like, so
We're
here's
not a proselytizing group. We don't need you to
So
join.
I was in the. So like, Jesse is she
yeah,
started.
that's right. He's the mother of his child is Jewish.
Yeah, we're gonna. So we're like
His child is Jewish.
culturally Jewish.
Yeah.
So and it's like I'm all about celebrating. I'm all about food holidays, and it's like so Jesse's family is like, the Jewish, like they Passover, and they assume because I'm not Jewish that I'm like all about Jesus, and so like every time they're going.
Well,
over,
Jesus was a Jew.
That's true, and the Passover Seder, the first Seder was the Last Supper was a
Passover Seder.
Seder, yeah.
Yeah.
So I got it mixed up. But so they, she has a cousin who's like really pious, and he speaks Aramaic and Hebrew, and he tries to do the Passover Seder in all three. To include, and I'm all about it. I'm like,
That's already too long.
no, it goes on.
Yeah.
I'm like, my whole night is here. I'm doing this. The only thing I'm not about is the cup for Elijah. I think it's too Easter Bunny-ish. It's like,
Plus, Dave is like, time out. Was that red wine? Hold on.
Oh, there's a yeah, no, it's
He's
true.
gonna start pretending to be Elijah.
I really like. Thanks for the
They
third
catch
bottle of
Dave.
wine,
They
but-
catch Dave sneaking around out back.
Hold on. Well, now that we're on this, Andre, just curious, what made you convert?
A lot of things. I
I
really
know it's
wanted,
a simple, very simple question.
It's a
Yeah,
but
people love talking about their religious views.
we wanted one religion in the household.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
We got a lot of friends that are Christian and Jewish or Jewish and Buddhist, and it's just like
Yeah.
we ain't doing that.
Right.
We're gonna, I choose to
Raise your kids one way.
We're gonna raise our kids one way, and we're not gonna confuse them on anything. And so they get it, and it was just one of those things that it fit. It was a fit for me. I didn't grow up ultra religious.
Mm-hmm.
I went to church. I was born in Birmingham, so my grandmother. You don't go to my grandmother's house without bringing a suit because she's going to take you to church on Sunday. So even when I was in college, I was telling them, I'm going to come see you and just make sure you bring a suit because I want to take you. And I'm like, all right. But we wanted one religion in the household.
Was your family okay with the conversion?
Yeah. People ask that all the time. And you marry a woman, that must be a great woman, make you change religion. I'm like, yeah, well, she is. But yeah, everybody's good. We got a very diverse family. I mean, if you should see us during the holidays and what it looks like when you walk in the room. So I got my baby girl is her boyfriend is Muslim.
Okay. Cool.
And so my middle daughter, she's married. Her husband, he's from Fall River area, and he's Christian and as white as you can be. And so we got a lot of stuff going on. It's pretty cool because everybody, no one's judged by anything. You come to our house, you're gonna always have a great meal. You're gonna always get plenty to drink, and all I want you to do is make sure you treat my girls good. I don't want to whoop nobody's ass. Other than that, we're good.
Leg sweep.
Yeah.
So my mom converted, and then and my wife converted. And it's funny because like my mom converted more like that was sort of the path she was on that led her to meet my dad, and that's why she was in those like circles where she would end up meeting some dude who just came over from Israel. But my wife, it was more like what you just described. Was like we came to a point. She wasn't raised super religious. I'm not particularly religious. We're both very spiritual. But like I think relationships with God, just for me, I think it's between me and God. Like I don't believe that a room full of people can have the same relationship with God. That's just my view. Right. And but my wife and I, was literally a conversation of like, we're going to bring children into this world. We're going to be a family, and we didn't want like, well, what are the kids going to be? Well, then like, why should one of us not be like, And it just works. It just works. Like we're a family. We're Jewish. It doesn't define us. It's not everything about us. Right. My in-laws, like I have the same type of family situation where like. It's a sitcom. Right. Everyone's different. Everyone does a different thing. Yep. I showed up to Christmas one year with like, what would Jesus do? He would celebrate Hanukkah. But everyone's cool, and it's the same thing. It's like there's no judgment. Even I'm the loudest voice in the room with like my on both sides. So my mom's family and my mother-in-law's family both have like born again family members who are like proselytizing, who will pull me aside. Actually, when I was 20 years old, I went to a family wedding with my wife, and like my mother-in-law's stepbrother pulled me aside like during brunch and was like, I understand that your mother converted. Have you ever thought about talking to your mother's family about finding Jesus? And I said no, but you know what? But we had like an honest, respectful conversation, and everyone was mortified, like, oh my God, how disrespectful. And I was like, he wasn't disrespectful. Like he believes in something. Absolutely. He had a conversation with me about it. Like I'm not offended by it. Like it is what it is. And the same thing, my uncles and I, the ones that seem like they'd be like the least accepting are the ones that'll have a conversation with you and you can talk about it. And like I'm not. We disagree spiritually. Like I'm not. They have their beliefs, but like they would step in front of a bus for me. Like they love me, and that's all that matters in the family, right? Is like, do you love it? So like, if your son-in-law loves your daughter and is a good husband, it's like, all right, man. Hey, listen, that's all that matters. It's better than having someone who aligns with your belief system and isn't good. Right. Like that's not cool. You know? So, all right. So he's gonna convert to Judaism, and we're gonna end the podcast.
I got a nice mikveh to take you to. So when you get ready to cross over, we'll dunk you 3 times.
Do you even know what that means?
It's a bath. Right?
Yeah, it's a bath.
Be nice and warm.
Andre, you're very worldly. Japan, Israel.
Andre Tippett. This is the headline that Corey's gonna put on Twitter. He's gonna go. Andre Tippett offers to convert Dave Becker to. Dave Becker, fearful of leg sweep, agrees to become Jew. All right, guys, this is heat in the kitchen.
One last thing before you say.
You just messed up that great ending.
Yeah,
too.
that was
it seemed good. Sorry.
I'm just joking.
cool.
Go for
So
it.
I was gonna say, if you go to Japan, I have the one jar. I know you need two. I want to make some tea bowls for the masters when you bring them over.
Sounds good.
I'll make them good. It's like I know it's like a big deal over there. They make a big deal out of like they drink tea out of like they're kind of like cups and kind of like bowls.
absolutely.
I'll throw them in there. I have to get back into the pottery thing. I was gonna,
Yeah, that stuff was so cool. I remember. I mean, again, we have one set. I'd love more. Hey, like I could drink tea too. I'm not a master of any kind, and but I'll work on it if that's what it takes to get
they'll
teacups.
get these cups out of the bottom of the kiln that are all like gnarly, and the way they look at them, they're so beautiful because they're irreplaceable.
Yeah.
And then they like sip tea out of them. It's pretty cool.
Dude, you know everything there is. Like, it's crazy how much you know.
I got stuck in like Wikipedia land. That's like how it happens.
Well, that
So this might not be true, is what you're saying. It's just Wikipedia. Andre confirmed it. All right, now this is heat in the kitchen.